13, 2011 meeting of the Greensboro City Council, and we will begin tonight's meeting with a moment of silence. Thank you. Ms. Eberzader, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Manager, would you recognize our courier?
Yes, tonight we have Teresa Wyrick from Engineering and Inspections. She has been with the city since October 1, 2000. Ms. Wyrick is standing to my right, council's left. And members of the audience, she is available if you have any issues you would like to get to city council. Simply bring it to her attention and she'll get that message to council.
Thank you. Our council procedure for each meeting involves an electronic voting process. Each member of council must vote unless there's a direct conflict. We do allow for speakers to address the council on agenda items as they are called, and we ask that you please fill out the form to request to speak at the front desk as you enter the chamber. Zoning matters do allow for a 20-minute presentation both for and against the rezoning. There is also a 5-minute rebuttal period for each side. With other business matters, the council allows for 5 minutes per speaker for comments. And we ask that you please move to the side window of the room if you plan to speak. We do practice Robert's Rules of Order as to council conduct of business. We also have a consent agenda for items 8 through 27 grouped together that are voted on with one single vote to expedite what is believed to be routine and non-controversial items. Any council member may withdraw an item from the consent agenda in order to discuss the specific issue. At this time, if anyone in the room has a cell phone or pager, please turn it off or to silent or vibrate mode. And lastly, depending on the overall length of tonight's meeting, we may have a 10-minute break about 7:30. All right, I'd like to ask the council for a motion to continue item number 6, recognition of Eagle Scout Barry Andre Harris, to the February 7th, 2012 meeting of council.
Move the...
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Mr. Mayor, I just want to explain, Eagle Scout Barry Harris has a swim meet tonight, and so that's why he could not be here. Thank you.
All right. Also, I'd like to ask for a motion to amend the consent agenda to add addendum item 47A, which is a resolution to accept drainage way and open space dedication from Page Properties, LLC, and a copy of that is in your folder.
So moved.
So motion, is there a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. The council has also been requested to continue item 28, which is a rezoning case. So if anyone is here for that item, we are going to address that continuance now. That's an ordinance rezoning R5 single-family residential to CD RM18 conditional district residential multifamily for property located at 3711 R1 Mosby Drive. And I would ask the council for a motion to continue to a date certain without further advertising.
So moved.
So the date certain would be January 17th?
January 17th, the next council meeting.
Okay.
That's all right.
So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. I would like to also ask that everybody keep Congressman Howard Coble in your thoughts and prayers, that we do understand that he has been admitted to the hospital, and so please keep him in your thoughts. Also, at this point, I'd like to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Yvonne Johnson for a motion to amend the agenda to relocate the public comment period to immediately before consent agenda items.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we change the public comment period to begin immediately before the consent agenda items.
Second.
Any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Council will vote. And that item passes 9-0.
Thank you. I just wanted to say to council, as you probably have heard, many of our senior citizens, many of our citizens who have physical challenges, etc., really needed this to happen because, and many of our regular citizens needed this to happen, and so I'm glad that everybody saw fit to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move now to...
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are we going to keep the speakers from the floor before the briefing at 2:30?
I didn't plan to do that because we had inconsistent attendance on behalf of council, and I think that we should hear speakers from the floor as a body.
Do we need to make a motion to discontinue that?
If you'd like to do that, that would be wonderful.
And I move that we discontinue speakers from the floor before our work session.
Is there a motion and a second? I think we can do a voice vote here. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce item number 7, which is a recognition of the reaccreditation of Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department by the Commission for Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies, which is CAPRA. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening to members of council. It's my distinct honor and pleasure this evening to recognize the Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department for successfully receiving our 5-year accreditation. I know we have a handful of staff that are here tonight, so if the Park and Rec staff could stand up during this brief presentation, I'd appreciate it. For those of you that don't know, the National Recreation and Park Association and the Commission for Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies has established 144 national standards considered best practices for managing a park and recreation department. In order for a department to become accredited, they need to be able to show compliance with 36 fundamental standards as well as 85% of the remaining 108 standards. You'll be glad to know that Greensboro did comply with the 36 fundamentals as well as 102 of the other 108 standards. When Park and Recreation was originally accredited in 2006, we were just one of 66 departments nationwide to be accredited. Today, we are just one of 104 departments across the country, so it's a pretty small pool of departments that have gone through the accreditation process. What does this mean to City Council and what does this mean to the citizens we serve? This is a commitment to excellence. This is a commitment to operating a park system following the best practices in the profession. It's a commitment to offering quality programs to our citizens. It's a commitment to continually evaluate what we're doing from a program perspective. It's a commitment to having engaged citizens as we plan facilities and plan programs. And it's an assurance to the city that you have a group of professionals here to operate a park and recreation department based upon the best practices in the profession. While many employees were involved in this accreditation process, and certainly all the people in this room here, every department has one employee who really needs to spearhead that process for our department, and that's Bernadette White for Greensboro Parks and Recreation. And I don't know if Bernadette's here or not, but there's a picture of Bernadette up there. Bernadette is critical for us to make sure that our staff is complying with the standards, when standards change, making sure we're up to date on what those are, and really working with the team that comes to town to review our accreditation standards. So Bernadette is a critical piece of that, and we appreciate what she does. Finally, on behalf of the Park and Recreation Department, I want to express our sincere appreciation to City Council and to the City Manager's Office for encouraging and allowing us to go through the accreditation process. We truly believe that Park and Recreation is one of the things that makes the City of Greensboro a great place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone on council have any questions or comments? Diane?
I just simply want to say how important it is for us to acknowledge and understand the value of the accreditations, the national accreditations that our various departments go after and attain. I appreciate very much the can-do spirit through all that you've had to go through, through budget cuts, through having to mow grass with scissors, do the whole 9 yards to make sure that we stay, as you said, in that realm of excellence. And so I want to congratulate all of your staff for the hard work that they do every day, whether they're being accredited or not. And I did enjoy coming to the dinner. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Abuzader, do you have some?
Need to learn. Yes, just wanted to thank you. I know the wonderful things your department does, and I also know that you are, very heavily involved in the cultural arts aspect of the city, and I do want to make that plain and known. And we've all used all of the facilities, and we just really appreciate everything that you do, and the employees also. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is pretty good.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I could thank Greg for bringing Keeley Park online on schedule. Appreciate that.
I'm going to turn to the back of this agenda and say that now it's time for the public comment period. And we have a number of speakers from the floor signed up, and each speaker will be given a 3-minute opportunity to address the council, and a total of 30 minutes will be allocated for this purpose. The council will allow 10 speakers at a minimum, and in the order that they sign up within this 30-minute time frame. And anyone else, if we've got many more, can come at the end of the meeting, would be the process. Now, we will allocate 3 minutes per speaker, but if you don't take that long, that'll help us get more speakers in this initial 30-minute period, and we would certainly appreciate that. So the first speaker would be Julia Blizin, followed by Nancy Kavanaugh, followed by Leon Nutez, followed by Charles Cherry. And please give your name and address when you begin your comments.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city manager, and staff. My name is Julia Blizin, and I reside at 4505 Summit Avenue. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard tonight and at this time. As a disabled person, it's very helpful to me not to have to wait to the wee hours. To you and the people in this chamber tonight, as well as the many residents watching this meeting at home, I say, long live democracy, which bears the fruit of peaceful transition. This city has been tested, its communities and servant leaders tossed and almost torn apart by years of contentious, rancorous, divisive, and distracting face-to-face combat. Yet we still stand. Our citizens have fought despair, joblessness, recession, rejection from their own elected leaders, yet we prevail. In the wink of an eye, which felt more like the passing of an entire century, we are now moving forward again. We withstand through the power of the democratic privilege to vote. Your courage to serve and to heal this city while moving us to a brighter future is commendable, and I personally want to thank you. However, I might serve you to assist in these endeavors. I will do my best to serve each of you. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you. Nancy Kavanaugh.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Interim City Manager, and Acting City Attorney. Good evening, you two. My name is Nancy Cavanaugh. I reside at 4505 Summit Avenue, Greensboro. I come before you this evening to welcome our new and old council members, those of you who form a faction, a majority, that I think will be unbeatable when the issues that have divided, polarized, and angered our community are on the table. I congratulate you as a majority who have stood firm in support of finding another option to the reopening of the White Street landfill by stating publicly no to White Street. The recent past has taken its toll on city staffers who have been driven out of their positions or who found it unbearable to continue to stay in their present positions. I mourn the loss of Miss Jerry Covington. I mourn the loss of Mr. Dwight R. Murphy. I mourn the loss of Mr. Charles E. Cherry. I mourn the loss of Miss Julia Rita Danish. There are many, many more. I look to council to lead us toward the healing, and I look to us as a community to partner with you to aid in this healing process, and for us as a vibrant city with enormous potential to engage all citizens, to look to council and each other, and to open our arms and hearts to include the jobless, the homeless, the near homeless, and the single mothers and the multitude of children, all who need compassion, love, and support, those who have recently been left behind. Thank you. And thank you for sitting before us.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nutez, and then Charles Cherry.
Thank you. Leon Nutez, 214 Peach Orchard Drive. I want to wish each and every one of you a congratulations. You all worked hard, and you finally made it here. All those that have lost the election, I hold no animosity towards them. I love them just as well as I love you all. I'm sure many times I have brought forth suggestions. There was only 2 times I can remember I won. One naming Captain Bellamy as the chief of police, and the other time I won was when we did away with the landfill. Those are the only 2 times. But I will still be here to make more and more suggestions, and I'm only hoping you'll all listen to me. And then again, I want to say thank you for listening, giving me yours. You have a real hard audience out here, and they'll be on your backs just like I will be, but we still all love you. Lots of luck to you, and may the new year bring many, many good things to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nutez. Mr. Cherry? Followed by Matthew King, followed by Darrell Koziak.
My name is Charles Cherry, and I live at 2104 Liberty Valley Road in Greensboro. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council, and congratulations to you all. Thank you so much for your pledges to unify the city and respond to all citizens. I have lodged several complaints of misconduct against GPD Sergeant Alan McHenry. However, I have not received a letter acknowledging my complaints, and the complaints have not yet been investigated. The reason why is because of the following email Chief of Police Ken Miller wrote to me, a citizen, and I quote, "Charles, regrettably, you continue to repeatedly distort facts about processes, statements, and actions, lack clear understanding of the law, and continue to selfishly disparage the reputations of a number of hardworking employees. Your behavior is unacceptable, and it is for these reasons that I will not continue responding to you beyond this email." End quote. I have not stated anything about a police officer that I cannot prove right now publicly. I haven't broken the law. I don't know of any facts that I've distorted, and if I lack understanding of the law, why not just correct me? In addition, Mr. Matheny made disparaging comments regarding a city employee. Mr. Matheny stated publicly that Police Captain James Henson was tainted, he didn't trust Captain Henson, and that Henson should have been fired 6 or 7 years ago. I'm sure Mr. Matheny did not receive a rude email, and I'm sure that his lovely family still receives police response. GPD Officer G.F. Pinson refers to Hispanics using racist epithets, and Chief Miller did not even discipline him. So what could I, a citizen, lawfully state that would disqualify me from police response? Ms. Turner, will you please investigate Chief Miller's discriminatory rude misconduct towards me, to include the email and my complaints on Sergeant McHenry? And also, could you take a brief moment to explain what a citizen could lawfully state that would disqualify them from police response, as I'm sure that all citizens need to know this change in city policy? Yeah, if you could.
If council has any questions for me regarding any of the items that Mr. Cherry brings up, I'll be happy to discuss it with you and respond.
Thank you again. I appreciate your time and the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Cherry. Matthew King. And after Mr. King, it will be Darrell Koziak, followed by Luther Falls, Jr., followed by Bob Foxworth.
Good evening, Councilman, fellow citizens. We're actually here presenting to y'all.
Could you give your name and address? That would be
Yes,
good.
of course. Sorry. Well,
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Derek Monk. My address is 308 South Elm Street here in Greensboro, North Carolina, zip code 27401.
Linwood Evron, 5856 Old Oak Ridge Road, Greensboro, North Carolina, 27410.
Eric Jefferson, 4922 Old Page Road, Durham, North Carolina.
Matthew King, 308 South Elm Street.
Thank you.
Today we would like to do a brief presentation in regards to a community development corporation named the Dr. Michael King Foundation in light of the legacy of Reverend Michael King, which ran Project Homestead here in Greensboro, North Carolina, highlighting the majority of his work. We would like to go through our mission and vision.
Well, with our mission and vision, as you can read, I don't really want to sit and read to you, but I'm going to sum it up in a quick sum. Our mission is basically to help the disenfranchised youth, adults, seniors, and disabled developing endless opportunities through job creation, through entrepreneurship training, as well as sustainability, and our vision goes right off the back. We want to unite citizens within the community through this nonprofit organization, through the churches, and what we're doing is we are making basically, I'm sorry.
Can we go to 7 models? Thank you. In regards to the 7 models you see here, is that we have, number one, is our Green Hub project. Green Hub is an acronym. Hub stands for Holistic Urban Business. With this project here, we're creating a vertical greenhouse method, which is coined by Will Allen out of Milwaukee with Growing Powers, a nonprofit organization in regards to creating sustainability in the community. One of the major modes of our organization is to unite with some of the organizations, not only here in the local community, but also throughout the nation. If we see that it's a model that works within a community, we implement that model within the Greensboro, North Carolina. I see that it's had so much driven success in many communities, especially with the vertical greenhouse method, which produces over 1 million pounds of food out of 3 acres. Currently, we have been blessed to have approximately 32 acres, which has been donated to our organization to implement the first phase of our project. Within our first phase, we're going to create 3 major things that will help strengthen the community in Greensboro. One is production of food. Dealing with majority of the food prices, we want to be able to help the majority of the restaurants and the grocery stores that are offering foods to general consumers. by producing our own method, utilizing the aeroponics as well as hydroponic.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
What I'd like to do is get your group to schedule some time with our Sustainability Council to make a presentation, because obviously this is a very large initiative and has a lot of different points.
Yes.
And if we could do that at another venue, we need to move on with other speakers from the floor.
Understandable.
Would be
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you, and we can coordinate that through the manager's office.
Sounds good.
Yes. Mr. King?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing? My name is Matthew King. I'm a senior major at North Carolina Central University, and the son of the late Reverend Michael King. I would like to thank the mayor, the city council, and the opportunity to stand before you. The King Foundation has been created out of the need that I see for the community based on the values that my father taught me as a child. Although I was blessed to only have my father 13 years of my life, the lessons he taught me has shaped me into the man that I am today. Michael King was referred to a lot of things within this community by a lot of people. He was pastor, businessman, father, friend. Well, not father, but to me he was just my father. I just called him daddy. I didn't know him as anything else. That's what I knew him as. He didn't teach me about project bids or second mortgages, but he did teach me about investing in people and the importance of humility. I'm not here for vengeance or justification. I was only a child when Project Homestead was established, and I don't have anything, no information. I don't know what happened. But I do know my father was very genuine in the change that he tried to bring Greensboro. The one event that changed my perception about life at an early age was one Christmas. My father took my family out to Toys R Us that he did every year, and my sister and I, we picked out all the toys that we wanted, and that year my father asked me what did I want for Christmas. I told him I wanted a brand new PlayStation. It was the best thing on the market, and all the kids wanted it. So he said, okay. Well, he took me to Toys R Us and took me to the PlayStation 1 section. And I was really confused. I'm thinking, like, I know I told you that I wanted a PlayStation 2 for Christmas. But he said, well, Matt, what games do you want? So I picked out a few games here, and I'm very reluctant at this point and really pretty disappointed. So Christmas Eve come, and our family, we always had a tradition that at 12 o'clock we opened up gifts. I walk in at 12 o'clock and notice that my brand new PlayStation 2 is right there. And I'm happy and giddy and everything like that. It was a Saturday, so that Sunday, of course, we go to church. And within my group of friends, we're talking about everything that we had as a child. And even as a child, I understood that I was well off than other children within my community. But my friends started going around, in particular one of my friends, Bernard, at the very end of our conversation, he started to speak about what he got for Christmas. And I noticed that he started to name every game that I picked out in Toys R Us. And as well as all my friends, I noticed that we left the Toys R Us with a car full of toys. It just wasn't for me and my sister. And as a child, I'm no older than 8, 9 years old. I'm now in awe of my father because I see the change he's really done to my friends and the joy he's brought to their lives. So growing up, my hero wasn't Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson. It was Michael King. And my family has a long history of servitude within this community, started from my grandfather on the south side of Greensboro. It is my turn to step into my manhood and embark on this journey of servitude to my community. And I pray for y'all guidance and y'all well wishes and get some things done.
Thank you, Mr. King. We look forward to working with you. Darrell Koziak. Diane, I'm sorry.
I would also like to suggest that the Michael King Foundation, since you said that business entrepreneurship is a part of it, that you talk with the Nussbaum Center if you have not. As you know, they're going to be relocating on South Elm Eugene Street. And I think that you may receive some guidance from there, as well as if you ask Mr. Scott, he can put you in touch with our small business person, Reggie, so that as you develop these things, you want them to get off on the right foot in the beginning, as opposed to, other things. And if you've not also worked with Max Sims, as far as business plan development, these are resources that might help you. And I did know your father from his school board days and from Project Homestead. And, what I would say to you, young man, is no one can diminish the memory that you have for him. And with every great man, there's always going to be opportunities for things to go right and wrong. And it just depends on what we as citizens want to dwell on, the right or the wrong. So I'm proud of you, and I hope that we will see a lot of you in the future.
Thank you very much. Mr. Koziak?
Thank you. Darrell Koziak. For the purposes of tonight, address is 1500 Yanceyville Street in Greensboro. I am a former City of Greensboro employee and Parks and Rec Department employee, and I can tell you that those folks, through whatever change and difficulties they may have, are awesome. They do a fantastic job. But I'm not here to talk about them tonight. I'm here to talk about my new role as the Executive Director of Partners Ending Homelessness. At Partners Ending Homelessness, our mission is to encourage public understanding of the causes and conditions of homelessness and lead a strong and stable system of care for individuals and families to reduce homelessness in Guilford County. On December 21st, December 21st is National Homeless Persons Memorial Day. It's designated so because that's the longest night of the year. There is an event going on in High Point this Thursday. In Greensboro, on December 21st, we're going to have the Homeless Memorial Walk of Remembrance. We'll walk from the Interactive Resource Center on Washington Street to South Elm Street to West Lee Street to Grace Community Church, a small mile and a half. At Grace Community Church, there'll be a ceremony at Grace to honor individuals who were homeless that passed away in 2011. I would like to invite the council, as well as the community, to come out and respectfully honor those men and women who have passed away this year, to lift up and honor their lives, and unite to reduce and eliminate homelessness in Guilford County. If you have any questions, we please...
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I got a memo, email on it. What time will the walk start?
It will start, thank you very much. It will start at, we're gathering at the Interactive Resource Center at 4:30. As we form as a group, we'll be shuttling off after that. Arriving, depending on Mr. Perkins is graciously going to join us, as long as he doesn't, lead us too quickly in this walk.
You just might.
We'll be there. We might. I'm going to try. I'm responsible for kind of holding him back, I've been told by my staff. We should get there about 6.
Okay,
and
at Grace.
Yeah, at Grace, service will 6. So if you'd like to join us for the walk at 4:30 at the Interactive Resource Center, if you just want to attend the service, at 6 o'clock at Grace Community Church.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Falls.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of the Greensboro City Council. My name is Luther Falls, Jr. I reside at 1603 Lansdowne Avenue here in Greensboro. And I, too, would like to add my congratulations to Mr. Jackson and his staff for the reaccreditation success. I've had a lot of opportunities to be involved with the Parks and Recreation. Being a native of Greensboro, we got some new initiatives I was just talking to Mr. Jackson about earlier. Hopefully you'll be hearing about those in the new year. I also like to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays as well, and thank you for your continuing support for our small business and entrepreneurship efforts here in the Watchful Network Incorporated. Tyrone has relocated to California, so he'll be coming back and forth to work with us on some things we're have going on here. Especially like to thank our Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Ron Johnson, who has been very instrumental in our success and our matriculation from the Greensboro Board of Realtors in 1996 to now holding our event every February at the Greensboro Coliseum, the Special Events Center, now entering our 17th year of operation here. And also happy to see the young men here talking about the Michael King Foundation and the things that they're looking at. We can add some resources to what Councilmember Bellamy Small said with the network as well, to assist them in whatever they're doing, since we've already got some track record here. We've already had some success and some relationships. And that's what it's all about. For all of us to see what Greensboro can and will be, we can collaborate in so many ways, because we're more alike than we are different, regardless of your background, your station in life, your community that you live in. And being a product of Greensboro has been very, very good to me and James B. Dudley High, as well as Bluefield and Lincoln with the Guilford County Schools. So let's work together. And some of the previous speakers have talked about previous issues that were going on, but now we have a new council. We can start from December 13th and move forward and make Greensboro the very best it can be. On behalf of the Watchful Network Incorporated, Tyrone Smith, our president, Mr. Ronnie Keith, and all the Watchful Network family, would like to wish you all very happy holidays. I'm available for whatever you may need from me. Mrs. Johnson is in close contact with me along with Councilmember Key as well, so I'm available to do whatever I can do. please don't hesitate to contact me, and you will see me on a regular basis. But with Tyrone being in California, we're going to be doing some things nationally, so I'll be in and out of the city. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Falls. Mr. Foxworth?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. I'm here as just one single individual citizen to welcome.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bob Foxworth, 2506 Pinecroft Road, Greensboro, 27407. I'm here just as one individual citizen to welcome our new council and to say how encouraged I am to see your movement into true democracy by moving the speakers from the floor to where it's more available to more people, where it should be at the beginning of the session. I want to particularly welcome the new members and say to you all that this council, in my opinion, from my point of view, holds great promise for reconstructive work and for doing constructive work to move Greensboro forward the way that all the citizens of Greensboro deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Foxworth. Kieran Tella, followed by Alexandra Avant.
Good evening, everybody, and Mr. Mayor Robbins and other city council members. My name is Kiran Tella, and I belong to one of the property owners on South Elmizin Street, 3019, Greensboro, North Carolina. My concern is regarding the street vendors, like on Randleman Road. They are selling the food like hot dogs, fish, chicken, whatever they like on the streets. And other than that, in the Homestead Lodge on the same South Elmizin, there are like 4 days in a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They are making some fish or whatever they like in the motel or the lodge on the homestead. So the people like these two, these are the only two examples I could give right now, are killing my business like anything. I am struggling like anything. I am the legitimate taxpayer for the past 10 years. And if the people like this, if they are killing the business and killing the person like me, so who is going to help me out? That is the most concerned part. That's only the reason I came here. And Mr. Mayor and other city council members and whoever is involved in this are definitely going to help me out. Because right now, for any reason, the business is very slow. And still, no matter whether the business is slow or not, I need to go through all my obligations like paying the taxes and paying the bills, paying the vendors, mortgage, everything. But if everybody, like the person who is doing either Randleman or in the Homestead Lodge, if they are permitted to do like that, what is the purpose of the person like me having the property, paying thousands of dollars of taxes to you guys, and allowing the person like them? Does it make any sense? If the persons like us, they are allowed to do any kind of business, whatever they like, there is no need to do the business, the person like me. And here, there is no health department, there is no law. I feel like, sorry to say like this, I am just expressing my frustration and the points here. So, I hope that Mr. Mayor and whoever is involved in this is going to look into this matter and hope that I am going to get some justification and justice on this.
Thank you. Ms. Bellamy Small.
Could we, where is your business, sir?
3019 South Elmizin Street.
What is it? Tell me what it is. What is your business?
It's a gas station come deli business.
Okay, are you the Crown Station or?
What, madam?
Are you the Crown Station or are you further up?
It's not Crown, madam.
Okay.
On 3019, it is close to UPS, that is in between
Okay.
Bluebell
Okay.
and Creek Ridge.
Okay.
In between Bluebell and Creek Ridge Road.
Okay, all right, I know where you are now. We changed the ordinance for what we call the tent or street, the tent vendors a few months ago. I think that if you have some specific locations of people who are doing that, if you could leave that with us, and we can have police and code enforcement. But part of the struggle when we went through, because we spent a year, and probably, Mr. Pollard, you might want to have Mr. Carruthers, since he spent the time to talk to you about what we did craft. And at least most of the folks on Randleman Road were willing to live with that. Because we still have the vendors setting up on Randleman Road. They have not gone away. They're not there as prolific as they were before. But I think that what you need to do is talk to our legal department and then give them those specific locations, and we can have police and code enforcement follow up.
And I think that would be very helpful, so if we can get staff to work with you on a follow-up of your comments. Thank you very much. And they'll follow up. If you go with the manager's office, they'll help you set up the appointment. Mrs. Avent?
Good afternoon. My name is Alexandria Avent. I reside at 933 Meadow Oak Drive, Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm bringing awareness to the community about a new professional ABA basketball team we have here in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's entitled the Carolina Cheetahs. Our home games are held at University of North Carolina at Greensboro and Fleming Gymnasium. The mission of our organization is to decrease violence, poverty, and juvenile delinquency through the empowerment of education. Through this, we target juveniles and youth. We've incorporated an organization entitled Stampede to Read, in which we go out to elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools and invite children to come out for free. And Stampede to Read comes out to our games. They give free books in addition to other items that help to increase education. Our team will also begin doing clinics, in which we'll have entitled empowerment clinics, where we'll teach stocks, bonds, and different things that increase education for our youth. This coming weekend, we'll be doing a Gifts for Kids weekend, partnering with Fox 8 News on Saturday and Sunday, and we'll have a basketball clinic held prior to our game on the 17th. All individuals that bring a unwrapped gift for the youth will get admission for $5.
Ms. Havant?
Yes.
So we have your permission to give your phone number and your address out to all council so that...
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
My name is Tavares Ross. I reside at 4449 Burlington Road, and right now I'm the assistant coach for the team. And I can say that the team right now is playing very hard. We're 6-2 in the start of the season. The guys have a lot of good morale right now. The confidence of the team is going up and up. So the more that support that we give for the team, the better that we are. And right now we're ranked in the nation out of 94 teams at number 14. Last week we was ranked number 8. We lost this week, but hopefully this weekend we get these next 2 wins, and we should be better as the season becomes. So if y'all can, please come out to support us as much as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that we've covered these speakers, Mr. Monk and Mr. Linwood Edward.
Yeah.
I think we've already heard from those speakers. Well, that'll close this portion of our meeting tonight. I'd like to move on with the consent agenda and ask council if they wish to remove any items from the consent agenda.
I'd like to pull 11 and 13.
I don't want to remove anything, but I just want the public to know that on item 19, there is no budget impact at all.
I'd like to pull number 2. Number 9, I'm sorry.
Number 9, okay.
Move the consent agenda.
No, Dr.
Okay,
Wade?
sorry.
21 and 23.
What did you say, 21?
21 and 23.
Any other items that need to be removed from consent agenda? Is there a motion for the consent agenda less items 9, 11, 13, 21, and 22?
Move to accept the consent agenda minus those items you just mentioned.
Okay, is there a second?
21 and 23.
23, I'm sorry. All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We're going to do a recorded vote. Council, please vote. That item passes 9-0. All right, let's take up item number 9. Ms. Manager. That's a resolution approving a bid in the amount of $482,761 and authorizing contract number 2011-077 with S&S Building and Development for the Melbourne Municipal Office Building window replacement project. And that was Mrs. Abu-Zader.
Yes, I have a couple of questions there. On number 9, the $482,000 in the disbursements between 1110 and 1117, there was a check for architects and planners. I was just curious as to whether or not the $49,000 for the architects and planners was included in this $482,000 amount.
That was actually a separate amount, a separate payment from this total dollar here, and that was in preparation for putting forward the RFP related to the window replacement. And Mr. Simmons, do you have it?
Also, they gave us a design to go by as far as retrofitting this entire building with those new windows.
Okay, and it would also be helpful for me if on the contracts and everything in the resolutions, just knowing where the companies are based. You know, if they're from Greensboro or Asheville or California, just so I can get an idea of things, if that's okay.
That's fine. Be glad to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Since you're on that, will that create a more energy efficient building?
Absolutely, it will. Also, it'll take a lot of maintenance out of our maintenance group because we have some of the windows that are almost falling out of this building.
So we should save some money on heat and...
Yes, very much.
I move that number 9 be...
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Council will vote. Item number 9 passes 9-0. Item number 11, Ms. Bellamy Small.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like for Parks and Rec, if they would, to tell us a little bit about Coach Lowe, and just, you know, kind of just tell us a little bit. I have no objections. I just wanted to know a little bit more for the audience, because I mean, if we're not in the boxing world, we may not know who he is. So.
Thank you, Ms. Small. And I think we have some speakers from the floor that are signed up to speak on this subject. Parks and Recreation received a petition with 144 signatures to name the Greensboro Boxing Club at Lindley Recreation Center to the Al Lowe Boxing Club at Recreation Center. And I think we have some of the speakers that can explain what Mr. Lowe has how Mr. Lowe has impacted their lives.
Thank you. And for this purpose, I guess the procedure is 5 minutes per speaker, but if we don't have to take that long, we would really appreciate it. So
3 minutes.
Okay, 3. So that's fine. Come forward. And give us your name and address.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. My name is Casey Chasson, and I'm the Center Director at Lindley Recreation Center. For the purposes of this meeting, it's 2907 Springwood Drive, Greensboro, 27403, which is the Lindley Recreation Center and Boxing Club's address. Just a little back history for those that don't know the Boxing Club's history or Coach Lowe's history. He was the initial person behind the Boxing Club when a Page Grimsley gang fight broke out in the early 1970s. Coach was not only a Parks and Recreation coach, but he also administered flyers throughout Page Grimsley saying, if you wanted to fight, meet at Centenary United Methodist Church and you will learn how to fight. What 100 young men walked into Centenary's fellowship hall was with an old gentleman with 2 boxing gloves on their hand. They learned right then and there that boxing was more than they thought it would be.
The numbers dwindled slightly after that, but soon a Greensboro Boxing Club was formed. The numbers slowly grew, and then they joined into the newly constructed Lindley Recreation Center. Soon after that, they outgrew the club and classroom that the center had and had to go into the Lindley Pool boys' locker room. After that, Coach Al Lowe, who was on the Parks and Recreation Commission at the time, proposed that the boxing club be added to the Lindley Recreation Center, and in 1978, the Greensboro Boxing Club was opened to anybody and everybody that wanted to join. Honesty, integrity, respect, and stewardship are the city's core values. Coach Al Lowe not only lived those core values, but instilled those core values into anybody that walks into the boxing club. No matter age, religion, or background, he instilled those every day. With the gruff hello, if you know Coach, he would say that gruff hello, and then he would also give the words of wisdom to anybody, whether you wanted them or not. He would say those. One of the boxing club participants said in a tribute to him that not only is Coach training boxers, he is training boys to be men and men to be future members of this community. After almost 36 years of service to the city of Greensboro, it would be an honor to name the boxing club after, in my opinion, one of the city's best and most loyal employees, Coach Al Lowe. And then I would just like everybody that is here, I know we have a number of speakers, but everybody that's here that's not speaking, just to stand up and represent the boxing club. And there's a number of people that couldn't be here tonight because they're working or working out at the boxing club. We have 283 people registered at the boxing club, and that's just in 2011. So I just wanted to let y'all know the numbers. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we've got a number of speakers signed up, but it looks like y'all have got your own order. So come on, one at a time. Give us your name and address.
Good evening. Sarah Ray, 3051C King Street, Greensboro, North Carolina. The Greensboro Boxing Club and Gym is a humble building that houses extraordinary strength. And it's not because of the weights that are lifted or because of the punches that are thrown. It's because of the man that sits behind the front desk, Alfred R. Lowe. And just as children bear the last names of their fathers, this gym should be no different, because it wouldn't be here without him. Thank you.
Tom James, number 8 Brighton Place, Greensboro, 27410. Here tonight, obviously, to talk in favor of Coach Al Lowe, and it's an honor to be here. I have a little bit different from some of these other speakers here. I actually met Coach Lowe when I was 7 years old, and about the 12th time I came home from Claxton Elementary School with my book bag torn and my shirt sleeve out and a bloody nose, my dad said, "Son, you got to learn a little bit of self-confidence and a little bit of a way to defend yourself." And Coach, he taught me self-confidence, but he's taught a lot of young men self-confidence over all the years. And, you know, boxing, as most people know it, is through professional sports, through television, through the movies and that kind of thing. Amateur boxing is something that's really completely different. And it's a sport that requires a lot of self-confidence. It requires a lot of discipline, a lot of stamina. And Coach taught all those things, and by extension, he taught those not just in the discipline of boxing, but he taught it both in the ring, in the gym, and outside the gym. It's no secret that there are a lot of folks down there at the Greensboro Boxing Gym who weren't as fortunate, who didn't have a role model in their lives, and Coach was that role model for a lot of those young men at the time over many, many decades, and he influenced a lot of people very positively in that way. He's the kind of man a kid could look up to back then, and a lot of us still do even today. And it's fitting when you find someone like Coach Lowe out there who's a living, breathing example of a type role model that you wish you could be yourself, that you honor somebody like that, especially while they're here to appreciate it. So it's with that, we ask for your consideration and thank you for your time. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Pam Scolio, and this is my visual aide, Mike Scolio. We live at 101 East Brentwood Road in Greensboro. Al Lowe is a community treasure. I'm only one of several Special Olympics parents that are here tonight. We're representing 30 years of Special Olympics parents. Al reached out to Special Olympics almost 30 years ago and invited this population to come to practice at the boxing club. And it's changed just many, many lives. Now, Greensboro has one of the largest and the best powerlifting team in the state, as you can see by our 4 gold medals here. Al has been a coach, a mentor, and a friend to our guys and to our families, as well as to all the members of the boxing club. There's no more fitting way to honor him than to name the boxing club for him. He conceived it, he grew it, he nurtured it. It should be named in his honor. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dave Sheets. I live at 1411 DeSoto Place here in Greensboro. And I, too, am the parent of a Special Olympic athlete, Marty Sheets. Al Lowe, I would like to take you back to when it began, in 1989, when Special Olympics first started powerlifting. And Al was approached about a space for the athletes with intellectual disabilities to train. And he brought them, and he allowed them to come, and he brought them in for training. Now, all of us think of Al, he's a great guy, we all know that. But we think of Al as a, tough guy, boxing and all that good stuff. Well, when the Special Olympic athletes, they like to be hugged, and they like to hug. So when they performed, and after they got through with their performances, they'd go over and hug Al. Well, I wasn't sure how Al was going to respond to that, but he melted. And he loves them, and he has been such a great mentor for them. He has provided space. He has made sure through the years, it goes back into the 1989, 1988 era, that there has always been a coach available to work with the Special Olympic athletes. Al is an asset to the city of Greensboro, and he deserves this recognition and this honor. And thank you very much for your support.
Good evening. My name is Robert Chapman. I reside at 17 Moss Cove Court here in Greensboro. I've been knowing Al Lowe since I was 9 years old. I was one of his boxers. Without Al Lowe, I would never have the success I had in boxing. My success in boxing was I was a junior Olympic champion. I was a novice champion. I was also 4 years Golden Glove champion. I also went to the Nationals. Was ranked number 6 in the United States. I was on the Olympic team, 1980 Olympic team. That's the year. Huh? That's the year they boycotted the Olympics. We didn't have Olympics, but due to Al working with me every day, I love this man. He's like a father to me. He helps me out in many ways, And I wish we can get this name for him. And thank you.
Hi, I'm Leah Miller. I reside at 2636 Walker Avenue. Thank you for your consideration tonight of this request. I joined the boxing club about 13 years ago and met Al Lowe then. And being one of few women who was boxing at the time, he welcomed me with open arms. I'm here also representing the older adult community. I run 2 nonprofits here in Greensboro that represent older adults. And my message to you is that we as a community here in Greensboro should recognize and honor the elders in our community who have made a significant contribution and difference in the lives of our residents. So I ask that you please consider this request. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Buzz Vanderwerf. I live at 3509 Waldron Drive. I met Al through Special Olympics as well. My son became involved, and he's made a tremendous difference in his life and others like that. But just as important, have any of y'all been down to the boxing club? It's the most diverse place you have ever seen. You've got every age, sex, creed, religion. It's amazing. And everybody gets along and everybody excels. And why is that? It's because of Al. Because Al stresses respect, self-respect, respect for others, willingness to follow the rules, and you must improve. A lot of people talk about making a change and making a difference. Al does it. This is not only a great tribute to Al if this happens, but to the city of Greensboro, because that's what we really all want to have happen. So thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Feather, and I reside at 3701 Manor Drive. And I joined the boxing gym 4 years ago when I moved to Greensboro to become a professor at UNCG. And I want to say, again, as a woman in a largely male sport, I've never had a moment where I wasn't treated with respect and kindness. I teach Renaissance literature, and my students who have discipline, who have respect, are the students who succeed. And Al has fostered an environment where those things are valued. William Shakespeare once wrote that those who fight with me are my brothers, and Al has created a place where I have a whole horde of brothers, and I can think of no better tribute to him than renaming this facility. Thank you.
My name is Mickey Osborne, 1513 Trogan Street. Sorry, my voice. I'm a boxer at the gym. I'm on spar today, so voice a little raspy. But I've been there. Coach trained me from day one. Now I'm with Robert Chapman. But, you know, it's been like a father to me. I've been there every day that it was open. Love that guy. You know, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now. Had some professional fights. Haven't fought in a while. But, you know, I'm still down there. Coach has always been there. And be great for him and to me if he would name the boxing club, change the name. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Bellamy Small, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Council will vote.
I just wanted to say that was wonderful to hear about somebody who has touched the lives of so many people and made such a positive difference. So I thank all of you who have come out to share that with us.
I'd like to just sort of second those comments. Obviously, this is an extraordinary person who's made, really influenced thousands of young people over many years, and obviously a treasure for Greensboro, and the Lindley Recreation Center is certainly one of the gems of our city and one of the gems in its neighborhood. And so thank you very much for bringing this to our attention and for honoring this man who certainly is most deserving.
I have one question.
Yes.
Of the 300 and some that you said that are there now, how many of them are women? Okay. I just wanted to know, because I can't imagine getting punched in the face, but, you know. Okay. Oh, okay, okay. Well, I mean, if you guys invite me down there, if you won't hurt me, I might, you know. So, but I'm very proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Council will vote. That passes 9-0. Is Al Lowe here tonight?
Al could not be with us tonight. He just wasn't able to make it.
I bet he's in the gym.
He's probably watching it on TV.
Okay, well, congratulations, Al Lowe, well-deserved, and thank you what you have done for the citizens of Greensboro for a very long time. Outstanding work.
Thank you.
And that was quite an effort to get a building named. I don't know if people really appreciate how much work it takes to get a name on a building like this, and you folks really must love Al Lowe to do what you did. Thank you very much for what you've done for him and what he's done for all of us. Thank you. All right, moving to item 13, Mrs. Bellamy Small.
I just have one question for Mr. Pollard. Whenever we're looking at possible condemnation, I just want to make sure that we try to make every effort that we can to connect with the property owners.
Yes, ma'am. We attempt to contact them and negotiate with them. In some cases, it's because it's their property, it's difficult to communicate. Of course, there will still be opportunities before we'll give them notice before filing the action. There'll still be opportunities to try to negotiate the purchase.
All right, thank you. Move the item.
The motion and a second. Council will vote. Everybody vote?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Item passes 9-0. Item number 21, Dr. Wade.
Madam Manager, I know we talked about this earlier, but this is just to clarify that this is to make everyone equal at 50%, but we're not actually changing them to individual units, right? It's just going to be across the board, 50%, and some people will actually be getting a decrease.
That's correct. In terms of the current cost to it, most of the multifamilies typically convert to that 50% rate anyway, and so this was a way to streamline the process.
But they're not getting a new meter, they're just getting charged that.
That's correct.
Move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second. Hearing no more discussion, council will vote. Item passes 9-0. Item 23, Dr. Wade.
Madam Manager, again, on this one, mainly we're just changing the order in what we normally practice with the city code. It didn't meet the same order in which we actually do it. And so the only changes is in this particular city code is that we're moving public hearings back and consent agenda forward, right? It was reversed.
Yeah, Council, Dr. Wade, that is correct. It was just it's straightening out the code to make sure it conforms with the actual practice of the council.
Move the item.
Second.
We took it out of order, actually, but there's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Well, actually, we need a recorded vote. Pending, if we don't hear any further discussion, council will vote. And that passes 9-0. Next item is item number 29, and this is the time and the place to set a public hearing to consider an ordinance approving the Greensboro-Jamestown Joint Annexation Agreement. Mrs. Turner-Roth?
Yes, Mayor Steve Galante is from Planning and Community Development is coming to talk with you about this item.
Thank you. I understand this was a very complicated discussion.
No, and I'll make it very easy for everybody.
Excellent.
Good, that's what I need.
Thank you. An annexation agreement is an agreement between two jurisdictions, and it creates a line up to which both jurisdictions can process annexations. The City of Greensboro has an annexation agreement with Jamestown. We've had an annexation agreement since 1991. That annexation agreement is due to expire in 2018. We have been working with the staff at Jamestown to revise the annexation agreement and, in effect, come up with a new annexation agreement. This annexation agreement came before this council in March and was adopted. Unfortunately, when it went on to Jamestown, they did not adopt the annexation agreement. So we have worked with the staff at Jamestown and revised that annexation agreement, and we're bringing it back to council tonight for your action. The town of Jamestown, their city council, has adopted this annexation agreement. They did that back on December 6th. The annexation agreement changes does several things, and I'd like to go through those changes, and I'll put those up on your monitors. And I have broken them out in numerical order. The first change is along the western portion of the annexation agreement line near Mackey Road and Guilford College Road. In the original the agreement we previously brought to you, and that's in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, we included the entire portion of the property that extended from Chadwick to Mackey Road. We have revised that portion of the agreement in Area 1, so it is just the lot on Chadwick Drive. Area number 2, the back portion of a lot that faces High Point Road, you'll see in the original annexation agreement, we included that revision, and that is also included in the change before you tonight. One of the changes we made to the annexation agreement is the area that you'll see along High Point Road. It's a small lot, 0.49 acres. It currently contains a retail establishment. As part of the road widening for the High Point Road, that site will need to redevelop, and when it redevelops, it will be combined with property that is currently in the city's jurisdiction. So it would, we have adjusted the annexation agreement so it could come into the city of Greensboro. Item number 4, or area number 4, is a portion of Grandover. It's an office-type development that will go over to the Jamestown side. Area number 5 is a portion of Grandover again, but is a retail portion, and that would come over to the Greensboro side of the line. Oops, sorry. We do have a parcel that is located at the corner of Grandover Parkway and Guilford College Road that our annexation agreement line splits that parcel. So as a change to this annexation agreement, we have adjusted that line so the entire parcel falls on the Jamestown side of the line. That is Area 6. Area 7 is a little more complicated. It adjusts the annexation agreement so that the annexation agreement line will fall on the right-of-way line for a street along that agreement. As an example, the annexation agreement falls on the right-of-way line for Guilford College Road. This change will adjust it so that it falls on the line regardless of when the right-of-way is dedicated. And then finally, the last portion is area number 8. It's a portion of a parcel with frontage on Guilford College Road, but a majority of the parcel actually extends back behind the property that fronts on Tarkington Street, so that this entire parcel, it's owned by a church, is located in one jurisdiction for development purposes. We have moved this portion of property from the Jamestown side to the Greensboro side of the line. As you can see, a majority of this changes to the annexation agreement. The two largest parcels, or largest portions, number 4 and number 5, are shown on your screen before you in pink and blue. Portion going over to Jamestown and portion coming over to Greensboro. They're relatively equal in size, so the agreement is okay. You'll
I think
also
this
notice.
looks great. I mean, you cleaned it up.
Exactly.
We've done it. We've looked at it. I remember when this came in a while back. And I'm glad that it worked out between Jamestown and Greensboro that we got this cleaned up, especially for Grandover and the development that's out there. So I would move the item.
Second.
We have to close the public hearing. So are there any speakers from the floor on this? There's no one signed up. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing? There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Move the item.
Public hearing is closed. As a motion and a second. On the floor, council will vote, recorded vote.
Vote.
That item passes 9-0. All right, I'd like to introduce item number 30, stating that this is the time and place set for a public hearing to consider an ordinance changing the name of the street, northern portion of McCallum Street from the west side of Big Tree Way to its terminus at Bridford Parkway to Elkhound Trail. Mrs. Turner-Raw.
Yes, Mayor. Steve Galanti will speak to this item as well.
Thank you. This street was actually created back in 1946 as part of the Hyde Park subdivision. It has been severed from its western portion by the construction of the Bridford Parkway extension. Since it is no longer a continuous alignment, the street needs to be renamed for public safety purposes and to avoid confusion in the delivery of goods and services. Before the Planning Department proceeded with this renaming, we contacted each one of the property owners along this portion of street and asked them for suggestions on a street name. They suggested Elkhound Trail. And since that street name did not, it was not phonetically similar to another street name in the city of Greensboro, it is okay to use in this scenario. The Technical Review Committee has reviewed this street name change and recommended it to the Planning Board and on to City Council. And that is based on the findings that the proposed name is in accordance with the street naming and addressing manual and does not duplicate an existing street name. The Planning Board recommended this street name changed at its November meeting.
Mr. Mayor, are there any speakers on this item?
I don't have any requests for speakers.
Move to close the public hearing.
There's a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those
Move the
opposed?
item.
There's a motion and a second. Anybody have any questions? Dr. Wade.
I just have one question. Are there just houses, residents on this road?
Yes, there are two dwellings.
And they're fine with changing everything?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further questions, council will vote. Oh, Mr. Key? Mr. Key?
Yes. What is the cost associated to the city for changing the street?
In this particular case, there will be one street name sign to be replaced, and that will cost $240.
I can do it cheap.
All right. Any further questions? Ms. Bellamy-Small?
It's not a question, but we have not done a street map since 2005, and yet we have made a number of street changes and that kind of stuff. My only concern is that somehow or another we need to update everything to make sure, whether it's on our online maps or whatever, so that when folks are trying to find these locations, including our folk, because if this doesn't get out to fire and police, you know, I'm sure that in the service area they should be aware of it. But we do need to look at possibly creating, because it's been 6 years for you know, printed maps and that kind of stuff with the kind of changes we've made, Mr. Mayor. That was my comment.
Thank you. Manager heard that. Council will vote on the item. And that item passes 9-0. We've got a little cleanup to do here. We just got word that there were 3 speakers signed up for item number 16, which was an ordinance in the amount of $51,607 for federal grant funds for the FBI grant funds for the Street Safe Gangs Task Force. And we have already dealt with that item, so we're going to move on at this time, and we apologize. There will be speakers from the floor at the end of the meeting if you want to stay around for that for any comments on that. Also, item 28 has been postponed. We received another stack of speakers for item 28, which was the rezoning, and that item has been postponed. And if it's been postponed to the January 17th meeting without further advertising. So if you're here for the Mosby Drive rezoning, you need to come back on January 17th. All right, moving on to item number 31. This is the time and place set for a public hearing to consider an ordinance changing the name of streets, the southeastern portion of McCallum Street to Sears Wood Lane, and the eastern portion of Kellum Street to Big Rock Trail.
Mr. Mayor, this is the the same as item 30 roughly, so are there any speakers on this item?
We don't have any requests for speakers. Is there any questions from council or discussion?
I would just move to close the public hearing.
Move the item.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
The item.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Dr. Wade?
Are there any homes or any people that it says undeveloped, but it's...
Right. No, these two pieces of street are unopened. There are no buildings down there.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? Council will vote. I really like a council who likes to move things along. Thank you, council. Introduce item 32, an ordinance establishing the amount of $7,725,000, the budget for Battleground Avenue intersection improvements project. And item number 33, a resolution approving a municipal agreement with North Carolina Department of Transportation for the Battleground Intersection Improvements Project U5306 A, B, C, and D, and authorizing the city manager to execute said documentation. Ms. Manager?
You're going to speak first?
We do have a presentation prepared from Director Adam Fisher, but if council...
Mr. Fisher, I don't know that we need to go through the whole presentation. What's council's pleasure?
I'm all for Yvonne moving it. This is great. Let's move on.
Move the item.
Second.
All right. Council here, no further discussion. Council will vote. And I will say that these are funds that are replacing our bond funds that the state has given us, and this money will allow us to stretch our bonds that were voted on by our taxpayers further and get more work done in the city of Greensboro. So this was a great win for the city, not having to spend $7.7 million of its money on these projects, and they're badly needed, and I think our citizens will appreciate them.
Mr. Mayor, we have to do 33.
We have to do item 33.
And I so move.
There's a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second on item 33. Council will vote.
Zach, vote.
That passes 9-0. I'd like to introduce item number 34, resolution approving bid in the amount of $1,966,989.17 and authorizing contract number 2009-021 with J.R. Lynch & Sons for the GTCC General Water and Sewer Project.
Move the item.
And I'm going to have to abstain from this because I own property that could be affected by this item.
Move the item.
So, Madam Pro Tem.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Penny, yes.
Madam Manager? Yes. I noticed that they did not meet the MBE gold or the WBE gold. And there were others that did, and I'm sure Mr. Key would join me in that. And how long before we finish the study and we actually have guidelines for the good faith effort?
The study is expected to be completed in spring of next year, and that will help give us guidance in terms of establishing these goals and for the participation of these programs in our contracts.
Well, it concerns me that we don't meet the goals and we say we have a program, yet we don't meet the goals, and then we have very vague good faith efforts, whatever the guidelines are. And to me, it would seem that what was the difference between the company and the next company? Not much. What, $300,000?
Yes, that's correct.
And they met the goal? Well, it is a lot of money, but, I mean, they did meet the goals, so either we're going to have guidelines or we're not going to have guidelines to follow. I mean, if I was the next bidder, I would be concerned if I met the goals and didn't get the bid. And the person
certainly
above me didn't meet the goals, yet they got the bid, or the lowest bidder, and they didn't meet the guidelines. So we need some guidelines.
And we feel the same, Council, and certainly this has been discussed previously. We certainly have our good faith process that we still check the efforts of the companies that have come in as the lowest, most responsible bid. But at this time, we do have to, or we find ourselves in a place of needing that guidance from the disparity study to ensure that the next steps that we take, if we're going to hold the standards, are consistent with what we find from the study.
I just have one quick question to our city attorney. Does this put us at any legal risk if we don't have well-established guidelines and some meet the requirements and others don't, and we say they pass the good faith effort?
First of all, the MBE program or the MWB program is not a set-aside program, in that it's not an absolute that you've got to meet these goals. It's a good faith effort program, and the contractor needs to reach out to the qualifying subcontractors to see if they can meet the goals, so that it is an evaluation of whether they have made that good faith effort. In this particular case, there was a double look at this, if you will, in that there was some discussion about the effort initially when the bids came in, and then there was a review by the Good Faith Committee for the city to determine what the contractor actually did. So that, to answer your question, we really need to have the disparity study in place to have an enforceable program. Of course, that's what we're attempting to do right now.
The other thing that I think would help in reference to what you're talking about, and I certainly agree with your point, is for us to create a list of people and certify them, which I know we do some of that, but we can be more vigilant about doing that. And then people don't have that excuse of I can't find anybody.
Well, what really concerns me is that we're subjective. And we were subjective on some people that had a low bid, but then we said they didn't meet the good faith effort. And that concerns me, that some meet it, some don't, and it's very subjective.
Well, and we do have 4 out of the 7 who did make it. So there certainly are contractors out there who are qualified. I mean, clearly this is a discussion that we have on a fairly regular basis, and I think we do need to put it in the forefront where we can come up with a policy that's hard and fast, because it is interesting how you do have 4 other companies, local companies, who were able to meet the threshold. And, you know, not only did Lynch not make it, they had nothing. They had 0.
I think that's the point. To me, why even put it in there? Because it doesn't matter. And if I'm Yates or Thomas Stanley or D.H. Griffin and Triangle Grading and Paving, and I've made the effort, I mean, just forget it, and I'll just try to be the lowest bidder, and that way I can get the business.
Well, we would still look for the good faith, and that's where the difference comes in. And as long as we have
I find it hard to believe, though, that you got a good faith on a 0-0 participation. That's just, so I mean, to me, that there's no good faith there. Because if the other folks had it and they've got the exact participation that would meet the goal, the contract goals, that's good faith. If you got a 0% participation,
Thank you.
There's no good faith involved in that process at all.
Thank you.
Well, good faith doesn't necessarily mean that they will come up with the companies, but it does mean that they've gone through a process to identify potential companies.
I'm with you, but my problem, and I know where Trudy's going, and I'm telling you, Denise, in this case, this is from a council perspective, why even put a goal if the goal doesn't matter?
Well, as long as we have the program, we definitely want to at least articulate a goal.
But I don't think it's fair to the other companies, quite frankly, and you know, we know the Griffins well, and the other companies that are here. I mean, why not allow those companies that met the contract goals, since we have a goal, allow them to rebid at 0-0?
Because that can have an impact on their, I mean, if they went out of their way to find the MWBE and the WBE businesses, right, that could have had
they're getting punished because they made the good faith effort to go out. Now, I know we're talking.
In 1993, there was a Supreme Court decision that basically said it's against the law to have a set aside. So you cannot prescribe participation The best that you can do is ask people to at least make an effort to find people, but you cannot make a choice based on solely on participation under current federal law. And so that puts you kind of in a real bind. So what you do is you say to a company, we want you to, in order to bid, we want you to at least make those nominal efforts that you make to find subcontractors where you use subcontractors.
But, okay, we all know where this is going. I understand that ruling, and I think we as a council, and I think you as our staff, and I think the citizens get it. The problem is, it doesn't change this, and this is a very important economic development generator for this community. This GTCC campus is huge for our community, especially in the aviation industry that's going to be going on in this area. So I don't want to delay this project. The problem is, and we've discussed it numerous times, is if I am a company and knowing that the city of Greensboro really doesn't care, because we've got a 0% participation in this one. So that shows me, if I'm a company, well, hey, you know what, I tried. I made one phone call, they weren't there, but hey, I'm the lowest bidder, choose me.
Actually, it's a little bit more serious than that, and I'd be more than happy to walk any council member through the bid process. I understand your frustration, and staff is equally frustrated, but there is an official process that's established by our ordinance. Doesn't mean it's a perfect, and doing the disparity study, which councils in the past number of years have put that study off. It's very expensive.
I thought
you're doing it now. But you should have done it 10 years ago. You should do it every 5 years.
What stage are we in it?
We are in the last stages. The final data is coming in, and we should have the study finished sometime in early spring.
But Diane and Trudy.
Is the presumption that the lowest bid is based on the fact that they did not meet the MWBE goals, or, because what I'm hearing, and maybe I'm hearing this wrong, is that these other bids aren't necessarily predicated on whether they have met whatever their percentage of MBE or WBE is, right? It doesn't have anything to do with it. I mean, it's like their bid is their bid, whether they had 0 participation or if they had 25% participation, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So it has nothing to do, I mean, if the assumption is that the lowest bidder is low because he didn't have any participation, that is not a correct presumption, is it? Is it, Butch? Okay, his dollars, whatever these guys put out here, or these companies put out here as their bid, is what they would bid anyway, right?
That's the assumption.
Okay, and then I think,
how do we know that?
And then I think that we had this come up before, and I asked the question is that even though a company has either low or no participation, we still express to them a desire that we would like for them to look at trying to find some subcontractors, and that's part of what Ms. Smith's job is, right? To assist these companies if they say they can't find anybody. Is that correct?
That is her job. That's correct.
Okay.
That's part of what she does. And I understand what council is saying in regards to, I think that Councilmember Matheny, your point was if it were not the case that these firms were trying to meet our MWBE goal, that their bids may have been lower. I hear and understand what you're saying. At this point, we do have a good faith process, and we do have it in the ordinance, and so we follow that process, and we have to stay committed to it until we have something that tells us differently. And so at this stage, our options are either to start over and rebid the process overall, or we go forward with this. And I think the legal counsel would agree with that.
Trudy, and then Jim, and then Nancy.
Here's the problem, as the way it's been described to me by some of these business owners. They try to make the good faith effort, and instead of doing everything in-house with their company, which lowers their bid, they have to get a subcontractor. That makes their bid go up, because if they try to meet this effort, they've got to go employ someone else that meets the other standards. Therefore, their price is up. If they don't have to go out of house, maybe to perform these services, they can bid lower. But they can't put the low bid in if they have to meet the MWBE goals. That's what the problem is, and that's what we're not being fair about across the board. Because maybe if they didn't have to get subcontractors, just pick any of these people that met the goal. Let's say D.H. Griffin didn't have to. His bid might have been lower. And any of them may have been lower. They're getting hurt because they did what we asked them to do. And the ones that didn't do it are getting rewarded because their bid's lower. That worries me. I don't think it's fair. And we need to either just drop the MWBE requirement until we get the study back and we can really set some guidelines, because we're not being fair on these bids.
Well, that certainly would take a vote of council. But at this stage, that is what we have.
Okay, Mr. Key, Nancy, you have your hand up too. Mr. Key, Ms. Vaughn, did you want to speak? And Ms. Hoffman.
This problem is not going to be corrected until we have an enforceable policy. And what I'm hearing from you, Andy, is that that is outlawed by the Supreme Court. So, is there any way that we can have an enforceable policy with that law being in effect?
You may have a good faith program which says to a contractor, if you use subs, we would like for you to make these subbing opportunities available to all the subs in the area who can do that work, regardless of their sex or their race. If you normally don't use subs, then you're not required to use subs. If it is your normal practice to do, a particular contractor might choose to do their own grading, and their history is that they do their own grading, then they don't have to bid out to get a subcontractor who does grading. And therefore, they don't have to make a good faith effort. But most contractors vary the subcontracts that they use based on their workload and who they have available at a given time. So for most of your larger contractors, sometimes they would choose to do the work in-house, and sometimes they might not choose to do it. Our program says that if you have a history of bidding this kind of work out, please try to bid, and then we have a state certification program that provides the names. You go through the process. Now, I'm not speaking to whether it's fair or whether it is. I'm just saying it's what's in the law right now. And if you'd like us to do something differently, then you're going to have to ask us to change. You're going to have to ask the city attorney to prepare a new law. But right now, we don't have any choice but to try to make what we have work. And that's one of the issues that Mr. Young, when he first came and started looking at our program, and I believe actually some questions that Dr. Wade had raised that sort of where he started looking to it, we found that a lot of the work on our disparity study was highly out of date, and that we would not feel comfortable having to defend a decision in court. So we're sort of walking a tightrope for the last year or so as we try to maneuver through this.
Well, I think we do want to do something different. That's pretty plain. Now, Tom, are there any legal ramifications for not accepting this contract?
The basis for rejecting the bid would be if the bidder did not make a good faith effort. There has been a determination made through the review process that's available administratively to determine that the bidder made a good faith effort. Now, even in that context, because our disparity study is out of date, I would caution the council about taking that action. The first thing you would have to do to reject the bid would be to determine that they did not make a good faith effort. I think simply because another bidder did meet the percentage goal requirement, that might be some evidence, but it's not the evidence that you would need. You would need to examine to see what that contractor did. And, of course, there's already been a review by that administratively. And the staff has determined that the contractor did go out and make the contacts, attempt to do what he needed to do as far as contacting minority women business enterprises. So at this point in time, unless you have can find that he did not make the good faith effort, then I don't think you have a basis to reject the bid. If you want to reject the entire project and start the bid process over again, I think that's within the discretion of the City Council.
I've got two more people.
Well, when is the disparity study going to be completed? Is there a date?
Early spring is expected. We're in the final stages of its completion now.
Ms. Bond, Ms. Hoffman.
I think Dr. Wade expressed very eloquently exactly what I was thinking, and this is a very frustrating situation. We have these standards, but we're being told we can't reject or accept a bid based on them. You know, the staff may have found they made a good faith effort, but when you look at when you compare them with the other contractors who were able to find contractors to meet these goals, I have a question whether or not there really was a good faith effort. And clearly, if you go out and find subcontractors who don't work for you, it will run the price up of your job. So, but it appears that this whole conversation is just frustrating, and we're kind of forced to vote for it. Otherwise, we're subject to a lawsuit at this point. So, you know, we really have to find a way to rectify this or to take it off the books.
Ms. Hoffman.
I'd really just like to say that I certainly understand and concur with the objective of certainly attempting to meet some threshold for minority businesses, but I would be uncomfortable making an assumption that higher bidder is at that level because of having met some threshold, unless I had some concrete data that demonstrated that to me.
All right, are we ready to, oh, okay.
So, I know we have a motion on the floor, but I have a question. Even if this passes tonight, can we ask the staff to come back with some recommendations on what we do in the interim here?
Yes, absolutely.
And make some type of, we don't have any guidelines for good faith effort because I've asked for those over and over again and I've never received them, so I don't know what they are. But evidently, 0 and 0 meets them. So, and I think Mr. Matheny explained that. We need to have some guidelines so when we award, I have contractors calling me saying explain it to me, and I'm having a little trouble explaining why we awarded it. They met the goals, they were over the others, and they're explaining to me they hired contractors to do the other part. Or maybe they had other contractors that were at a cheaper rate, but they hired someone so they could meet the goals. I mean, there's lots of problems you can have when you're running a business in order to have the bottom line more. That's what I'm concerned about. And we need to have some guideline for right now until you get the study back, whatever that's going to be, and the legal department could help work that out, in my opinion.
And this is the last comment, then we're going to vote.
Okay, I guess my question is that the presumption is not that just because you meet a goal that you're going to get the contract. Is that the way we're doing business?
No.
Okay, because, you know, I mean, it's sort of like, you know, somebody who decides to paint their trucks to make them look pretty and somebody doesn't. Does that mean the guy whose truck is unpainted is less worthy because he didn't spend the money to paint his trucks? I mean, I think that if we leave the impression that because you are willing as a good employer to be inclusive, that automatically means that you get the bid. And I don't think that that's stated anywhere. You know, and don't get me wrong, I want as many people to work as possible. But at the same time, I don't want us to make the MWB program a sacrificial lamb when it has been a model in the United States, and not just in Greensboro, to be inclusive. So I just caution council that let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater in this process.
All right.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, if I can suggest that you excuse Mayor Perkins from the vote on this particular item.
Second. That's just what I was getting ready to do. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right. You excuse, Mayor.
I'd just like to say this is a very important project, and
Okay.
it's very important for this region. And I do hope it passes. I just hope we get everything worked out on the other program.
I think it is too, but I really think that there were some good points made and that we really need to deal with this in a way that we are satisfied, because I am frustrated with it personally. But okay, let's go in and vote on this. A motion's been made. Is there a second? All right, council will vote. Oh, I hit the wrong button, I think. I hit no, because that's really what I'm thinking. All right. Well, I hit the wrong button. I want a revote, please. Council will vote. And that passes 7 to 1 with one abstention. And this is back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I'd like to introduce item 35, which is a resolution approving a bid in the amount of $1,630,820.64 and authorizing contract 2011-027 with APAC Atlantic Incorporated for the streets resurfacing
Move the
project.
item.
Is a motion, is there a second? There's a motion, a second. Any discussion from council?
This is much needed.
Council will vote. Item passes 9-0. I have a feeling we're going to be paving a lot more streets. Introduce item number 36, resolution authorizing purchase in the amount of $37,207.19 of property of Desky LLC for the Peach Orchard Sewer Force Main Replacement Project.
Move the item.
Motion, is there a second? Anybody have any questions or comments? If not, council will vote. Council, the vote passes 9-0. Introduce item 37, resolution approving the bid in the amount of $3,999,219.94 and authorizing contract number 2009-008 with Monroe Roadways Contractors, Inc. for the Peach Orchard Force Main and Denny Road outfall replacement project.
Move the item.
There's a motion and a second. Yes, Dr. Wade.
And I'm going to bring up the same MWBE, but at least I can see a good faith effort when they made a goal of 0.8% and 1.4%. My other objection was it was 0 and 0. So I hope that we'll come back to something from staff that'll help remedy this problem.
Yes, we'll definitely come back and share with council the evaluation that, especially the good faith effort committee goes through. As as Andy was pointing out, I'm sorry, as Mr. Scott was pointing out, there are times in which the company itself actually does the work, and that could be a scenario in which there isn't a need to have a subcontractor causing the difference. But we will share with council what the evaluations are and what are the various levels of analysis that are done as a part of the good faith committee, as well as any recommendations from legal.
Any other questions? There's a motion on the floor and a second. Council will vote. That item passes 9-0. Moving on to item number 38 is an ordinance in the amount of $272,897, amending Aquatic Center Series 2010 capital project budget in the amount of $162,605, amending the Coliseum operating budget.
Move the item.
You have a speaker.
There's a motion and a second. There's a speaker, Mr. Hartzman. Please come up and give us your name and address.
George Hartzman, 2506 Bay Tree Drive. Oh, you're cruising. You're cruising. That's phenomenal, really. We're moving money in the capital project budget for the Coliseum, but it's an amendment to the Aquatic Center project budget. So is that money taken, is it being taken off of the Aquatic Center budget to be moved to the Coliseum operating budget, and that will that be reflected in their budget deficit for the year or not?
Madam Manager?
Well, it may be better if we allow for Mr. Brown to address the item, and then we can answer that in other questions from council.
Is that all, Mr. Hartzman, you have?
Can I defer to
Certainly.
Matt?
Certainly. Mr. Brown?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I think City Finance Director Rick Luss might be better able to explain a number of these items, but what we're dealing with here is the portion of the sales tax that is rebated back to the city as part of the construction of the Aquatic Center. And it's recommended for the use of those funds to be able to make these improvements to parking on a facility as a justification for replacing the parking that was lost as part of the construction of the Aquatic Center.
Right. That's
Right.
clear.
Dr. Wade?
I'm going to, Mr. Ross, I know I had this question before, that the money that is being rebated, part of it is coming from bonds that we sold as the city of Greensboro.
Yes.
That were Parks and Rec bonds, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then a third of the money came from certificates of participation, right?
That's correct.
And they were from the tourism. Is that?
But that debt is paid off from the hotel motel tax.
Okay. So my question is, why, and usually if there's some type of rebate or something comes back, we put it back in the bonds for Parks and Rec and maybe use it. 2/3 of it, you told me, came from that we would use it for another something in Parks and Rec that there might be a bond for or pay down bond debt with it, but it could be used for that. Is that not correct?
It could be. These revenues are unbudgeted revenues that were related to the project, sales tax refunds and interest earnings. Since the project was financed by two different sources, then the monies are eligible to be used for capital expenses of the Greensboro Aquatic Center or for other P&R purposes, since P&R facility bonds were used for that, or to pay down debt service on either of the two financing vehicles.
And I really don't have a problem with using it for the Coliseum. My problem is usually when we have a Parks and Rec bond and we complete whatever project is, that money converts back to the either to pay down the debt or to use in another project. And I can tell you right now, District 5 has plenty of Park and Rec projects that we haven't had that we could use the money for. And I have a problem with it. I have to prioritize knowing that hopefully the Coliseum is going to be able, I hope, to make a profit at some time with the pool, and I'm glad it's doing so well. I'm just saying that there are other projects that we could use monies from Parks and Rec after they're completed. Then the turnaround, it's not like we complete a park and say, well, you're getting the sales tax back, the refund. We don't go out there and say, is there anything else you want to put in with this money that came back? It immediately goes back into the Parks and Rec area, and that's the dilemma I'm having with that. I just wanted to explain what the dilemma was.
Ms. Bellamy Small.
Mr. Brown, since the opening of the Aquatic Center, can you tell me how many events have been booked and are scheduled for the next 6 months?
Well, actually, I can tell you for the whole year, we've already booked 50 out of 52 weekends have already been booked, and we're actually working on another a self-initiated event through all the colleges throughout North Carolina. It's going to become a new meet called the College Cup, North Carolina College Cup. And in one day, they've already had 7 teams to sign up for that meet, both swimming and diving, and we're getting excited that that could potentially grow, and it'll grow into another meet as well. And today we had a phone call from Page High School asking to hold a meet there as well.
Mr. Brown, in your expert opinion, would you say that the Aquatic Center events alone are exceeding what your expectations would have been in the first half of a year?
Well, they've already exceeded 3 times what we had originally anticipated.
And many of these events will be with folks coming from out of town, is that not correct?
Yes, it's unbelievable to think of all of us enjoying the fact that people are coming here and spending money instead of all that swimming community going outside of our community. They're all coming here. Restaurants, retail establishments, and certainly hotels as well.
Okay. And I would direct council, if you've not seen it, to the report that the Convention and Visitors Bureau did for the last fiscal year, which indicated that, and this didn't include the Aquatic Center because it wasn't open at the time, but that the Coliseum complex in the last fiscal year generated over $155,980,000 in revenue, which means that we have more than replenished or will more than replenish the hotel motel tax that helped to pay for the Aquatic Center. So I think that to characterize the Coliseum as operating as a deficit, that's our investment in order to bring jobs and other kinds of venues to this community. If you've not been to the Aquatic Center, I'm over there. And on Saturday and whenever there's a meet there, I mean, the place is crawling. And they do need the additional parking. So this is not a wish list ask. This is a need ask based on what the fine staff has done to generate the excitement around this venue at the Coliseum.
I have a question for Matt.
Yeah, Mr. Key?
What is the estimated economic impact of the Aquatic Center so far?
Well, the Convention and Visitors Bureaus have estimated the impact of the events we've already booked at over $50 million, and our estimate of the original was only $14 million. So obviously, hence about 3 times exceeding the original estimate. And that's from the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Mr. Hartzman, did this, yes, Trudy. Sorry.
My point here is that I'm glad that the Aquatic Center is doing so well, and I hope they start operating at a profit, or we have all this economic impact, because then the sales tax will go up, and maybe we could pay for the parking lot with sales tax revenue, and we could still use this sales tax refund to help other areas in our city. That's the point I'm at, and I couldn't be happier that the pool's doing well. It's just that if they can generate money, then maybe they could find another source to pay for the parking lot from sales tax. Maybe the Visitors and Convention Bureau would like to appropriate some more sales tax over to pay for the parking lot, and we could still do things for other parts of the city.
Any further questions from council? Mr. Hartzman, I apologize that we didn't have the staff presentation before we called you up. Do you have any further questions about this item?
I do not. Thank you.
All right. Council?
Move the item.
There's a motion and a second. Without any further questions, council will vote. And this item passes 8-1. At this point, we're going to take a break for 10 minutes, and we'll be back here at 7:40.
Before we go, just thank you, Mr. Brown, for the work you're doing with our children in the school system, teaching them to swim. You said you were going to do it. You have done it, and I thank you.
Yes, Ms. Manager.
I was going to say the next item is related, if you wanted to take that, but it's...
39, which is a resolution approving a bid in the amount of $44,130 and authorizing the contract with D.H. Griffin Incorporated for the demolition of a portion of the Canada Dry bottling plant for the Greensboro Aquatic Center Coliseum Parking Lot Improvement Project. Ms. Manager?
Yes, I'd like to call on Mike Perdue, actually, or Mr. Brown. Okay, Mr. Brown's actually going to cover this as well. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we were extremely fortunate with the bids that we received for the demolition work, and I would credit our Superintendent of Maintenance, Mike Perdue, for his creativity in including scrap metal as part of the project to be able to be credited to the cost of the demolition of this approximately $26,000 remaining portion of the Canada Dry warehouse that will allow us to increase the parking. And a map of it is available for your viewing.
Move the item.
Second.
Any questions, Dr. Wade?
Madam Manager, I wanted to know again, we talked this afternoon, did we come up with a number that it actually costs per parking place if we consider the property we bought, the demolition, and the paving?
In terms of the actual cost, we talked about the fact that the Canada Dry building property was bought at a cost of $3.2 million. The cost of half an acre of the lot, which is what we're talking about for parking, for the parking project, is approximately $336,000. In each of the 250 parking spaces would cost approximately $678 each. These parking spaces would generate approximately $94,000 in full fiscal year, or $376 per parking space.
And so, and how long would it take to recoup what we're doing?
I'm sorry, I don't have that calculated out, but I think that probably, and I'll let Mr. Brown.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, I'll let Mr. Brown refer and discuss the larger plans and how he believes that it'll impact economic development, but I don't have it calculated out
I
to the
understand that
3.2
part.
million.
I just, from a business standpoint, you know, it's pretty expensive property to be using for a parking lot, so I just wondered how long it would take to recoup the money in the parking lot if we factor in the property, the paving, and the demolition.
And I'll have to get back to, I'll come back to council with that response.
Well, we're voting on it now.
Well, yes, I think we have that. Excuse me. I think we have that. Jerome and Rick Luss, and that was, they calculated out to be 20 months.
Did that include the property? Because my understanding was it didn't include the property.
No, their number included the property. My original estimate to our Warm Rail Commission was on 14 months, which that was at the lower number at the time.
So just 20 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We do have a speaker.
Approximately 2 years to recover the cost.
Okay.
We do have a speaker on this item. Any further comments from council before we have the speaker? Mr. Hartzman?
My only concern was a campaign contribution by D.H. Griffin Sr. to Robbie Perkins for $2,500. From what Matt said, it sounds like it's a good deal for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Hartzman. I did write him a thank you note.
I would have too. Call the question. I would have too.
Any further questions from council? All right, if no further questions, council will vote. Item passes 9-0. Item number 40 is resolution approving joint sponsorship of the ACC baseball tournament and the U.S. Youth Soccer Region 3 President's Cup events. There's a motion. Is there and a second? Anyone have any questions? Dr. Wade?
I don't have any questions particularly on this, but we don't seem to have a policy on when we provide for police and we do a grant or we do it in-house. And I think we should come up with some policy as a council, which groups we're going to do it for, or they have to meet some criteria. I don't have a problem with this item, but I think we need to do that because it ends up being who gets 5 votes, we pay for the police protection. And we need to have some type of policy. And I was wondering, Mr. Mayor, if we could discuss that at the retreat.
I think that would be a good item to put on the list. In this particular case, I think all of us are aware of the significance of the ACC baseball tournament, and the U.S. Soccer Region 3 President's Cup is one of the larger soccer tournaments in the whole country. Any further questions? Comments? Council will vote.
Can somebody tell me approximately what these events bring into the city economically, money-wise?
I think it was $7,600,000 was in our...
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item number 41 is a resolution providing for the issuance of $10 million of general obligation public improvement bonds, Series 2012.
Move the item.
All right. This is, there is a speaker on this item, Mr. Hartzman.
Says the city proposes to sell 10 million fixed-rate general obligation public improvement bonds. City will also obtain a bank commitment for $30 million variable rate government obligation bond anticipation notes for the capital projects to be funded between March 2012-2014. Is the total of this 40 or 10? What are we actually talking about?
This item is for $10 million.
Okay. It says on page 2 of 3 of this that no increase in property taxes is needed to service the debt related to the proposed $10 million government obligation bonds. It is my understanding that the city is running at a deficit that has the city spending savings in order to meet its revenue goals. If the bond passed as a obligation on the ballot, it should have included a tax increase. Is that not correct?
Well, there's a cost for debt, but it doesn't have to be funded by tax increase. The idea when we do bonds, we do say how much it would, what the impacts would be on the taxes if we had to do it in an increase, but it doesn't necessarily equate that you have to do a sales tax increase every time you issue a bond.
Okay.
Just in addition to that, for years and years when we've issued bonds, and I'm not sure if this is a good thing or not, but we have not passed on most of it to the taxpayers. We've been able to absorb. Is that correct, Mr. Luss?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know if that's good or bad, but we haven't done it. But these are different kinds of times, and I think that when we have another bond on the ballot, that we really need to emphasize in a way that strongly emphasize in a way we have not always emphasized. We've always said it was possible. We've always told them what the possibilities were. But the likelihood that we will be taxing you to pay for this is very strong, or something of that nature, because I don't think we can continue to absorb it.
Dr. Wade?
Mayor Pro Tem, I think we're taxing them to pay for it. We're just not increasing their taxes to pay for it.
That's what I mean.
Right. But my question was, on this particular item, we've already have a loan for the $6 million, correct, Mr. Luss?
That's correct.
And we're just lowering the interest rate by spreading it out. Is that correct?
What we did in last June, we issued $6 million bond anticipation notes to complete the construction of the Greensboro Aquatic Center. That $6 million note is due at the end of February, and what we're doing is refinancing or converting that short-term debt to the long-term debt.
And the $4 million is a new bond?
The $4 million is a new amount for the Natural Science Center.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hartzman, are you finished?
Yvonne, it is great to see you speak. It truly is.
Thank you, Mr.
I very much enjoy it. Oh, I'm not done.
Okay.
The tax base in fiscal year 2010 and 11, according to the unaudited figures as of June 30th, 2011, the tax base was decreased by 0.5%, or $128 million in fiscal year 2010-11, from $24.35 billion to $24.22 net of construction, business, personal property, and vehicle depreciation. And the city is not anticipating any tax base growth that has budgeted in fiscal year 2011 and 12. The problem with that is when when the county reevaluates the tax values, that we're going to have an increase in property tax that is going to be regressive, especially among the bottom and the middle of the tax base, and I think it needs to be addressed. The city is going to spend savings to finance this debt. The city is going to spend savings to finance this debt. Any increase in costs at this point will be financed by savings. Growth is not increasing. There's really, on a global scale, there doesn't appear to be any way out of some economic decline that is coming. And I would counsel to be very careful about increasing costs for the city finances going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Hartzman. Any questions from council on this item? I know that the council has met recently with the managers and Mr. Lusk about the capital spending in the city, and I'd like for Mr. Lusk to please comment on the tax evaluation issue, because I don't want it getting out there that that this is going to have a significant effect on our budget.
This is not going to have a significant effect. The tax base, we're expecting to be relatively flat for the next year or two. However, as it relates to the debt program itself, the city currently has about $188 million in outstanding general obligation debt. It also has $190 million in voter-approved, authorized but unissued debt. This $10 million is a portion of that, and our plan is to, over the next 9 years, to issue this debt, the new debt at the same time we're retiring the old debt, such that our outstanding debt level would not change significantly from where it is now, and that our per capita debt amount would not change significantly from where it is now.
Thank you. So the word to the citizens is that we have very competent professionals that are looking very carefully at our debt levels and are managing the debt appropriately so that the property taxes don't have to go up. And we're retiring debt and we're issuing debt, so we're balancing that out. Thank you very much. Mr. Key?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I also want to state that when we issue bonds, we issue them for public safety reasons and for economic development reasons. Is that pretty much what we do?
That and street improvements, parks and recreation
Yes,
facilities.
infrastructure. Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is a motion on the floor? Is there a motion? There's a motion by Mr. Matheny, a second by Diane Bellamy Small.
Mr. Mayor, I do need to know for the record, since these are formal proceedings, that I have reviewed this resolution and approved it as the form.
Excellent. All right. There's a motion and a second. Council will vote. That item passes 9-0. Item number 42 is a resolution proclaiming November 15th through December 15th, 2011 Buy Local Month. Mr. Matheny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, the dates on this, we're a little bit behind, but due to the ceremonial meeting last week and just the time from Thanksgiving, we were able to get through it tonight. So with council's hopeful support, the resolution states, whereas a month-long celebration of all local independent businesses has begun in the Triad area, whereas Triad Local First, affectionately known as TLF, a nonprofit organization, educates citizens about investing in the local economy and provides networking and other opportunities for local business owners, farmers, and supporters of the Buy Local movement. Whereas economic studies have found that for every $100 spent at a locally owned business, $68 stays in the triad and contributes to the economy as well as the cultural life of our community. Whereas spending at local businesses can have a positive impact for our local entrepreneurs and assist in keeping their doors open. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that November 15th through December 15th is hereby proclaimed Buy Local Month for 2011 and years to come, adopted this the 13th day of December 2011.
Would it be proper to amend this to the end of this month?
Well, they've been going on, and it's been...
I mean, why can't we just extend the time to the end of the month? You don't like that?
That's okay?
I so moved. That's what I would...
Second.
There's a motion and a second to amend the item to extend the time to the end of the month. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We do have a modified motion. I'd like to recognize the speakers. Could you give your name and address for the record?
Yes, I'm Mary Beth Geraci Hudgens, and I live at 2000 Claiborne Street here in Greensboro. And I wanted to thank the mayor and council. And as president of Triad Local First, I'm excited to accept the proclamation. It's a wonderful first step toward a Buy Local initiative. Several of you are familiar with Triad Local First, and you have attended our monthly meetings, and we appreciate you being there. We're a 2-year-old nonprofit organization with 110 members currently, and our mission is to educate and advocate for independent local businesses, big and small. Triad Local First feels strongly that a Buy Local initiative would have a positive effect on our entire community. It would send a message that what's here already matters, and it's supported. Everyone at Triad Local First looks forward to working with the council as we continue to grow the industry of local business. Thank you.
How many members do you have right now?
110, and we've just published our first directory, and it'll be out the end of the week.
How do you become a member?
We have a website, triadlocalfirst.org, and you can join online, or you can contact any of us. We're all local business owners here in Greensboro. But we thank you for this effort.
Do we move the resolution?
We've got a motion and a second, and
Oh, that's right.
and we've got a modified motion. There's a motion on the floor and a second. Council will vote. That item passes 9-0, and I would note that Mr. Hartzman did not speak on that item. All right, we're moving on to item number 43, and that's a resolution authorizing appropriation in the amount of $100,000 of additional resources for the Greensboro Police Department to provide additional officers and resources during the holiday shopping season. And that's Mr. Matheny.
Originally, this came out of numerous conversations with some staff and our police department. I don't know if Chief Miller is here.
He was out in the hall.
But the idea was to make sure that we have proper coverage for our police department in every aspect possible. I think it got a little bit misconstrued on just having it for the holidays or having it at our shopping centers, and that was not my personal intent for this initiative. And the idea was basically to make sure that when we, council, made the motion to make sure that the police department was properly funded for overtime initiative a few years ago, to make sure that that didn't run out until we had the proper plan. And it's my understanding that our interim city manager, Denise, has come up and they're working together with the police department that we're not going to run out of any overtime funding right now, and that we're going to maybe see a plan that would cover numerous public safety initiatives maybe in January. Is that correct? And so I would say that I'd like to just make a motion to delay this until our January meeting.
Second.
All right, Ms. Bellamy Small's got a question.
I really have a question or a comment of the scope of what we're trying to do here. And, Council, if you would like to see the statistics, because I only asked for them for District 1. Since 2008, District 1 has experienced 33 murders. Out of that 33, a third of them are still unsolved. And so my feeling is that, for overtime pay, but for the citizens of District 1, they need to feel safe. And so, Ms. Manager, what I would like is to know, do we need to expend additional resources in specific areas in terms of trying to either solve these cases or do something to reassure our citizens? Because just for the 2011 year, we have had 10 murders. And granted, we can't stop people from killing people. I understand that. But at the same time, I think that, not saying that District 1 is not safe, but the citizens need to feel that everything possible is being done to resolve those, kinds of violent crimes that put people in harm's way.
Mr. Spielman?
Yeah, we actually have started, there's a new initiative that the Chief and Police Department are working on now, is a cold case initiative to examine just those cases. That's one of the many opportunities that we're going to be looking forward to as the year progresses. So we've discussed that and gotten that focus on those cases that we think are most solvable and those that have leads that were left undone.
I would ask only one other thing, then, is that if it's possible to perhaps, see if we can get our local media to revisit those cases in terms of some type of publicity or something that can, say, even though some of the cases are 4 years old, this is what we're trying to do, continue to reemphasize Crime Stoppers is out there for people to, contact. Because I just feel that it's more than just whether we're worried about folks' purses getting snatched or, the parking lots during shopping times. We got to look at this thing as it relates to the entire year and from a lot of different perspectives.
Agreed.
Thank you. Mrs. Vaughn.
Thank you. When you come back to us in January, I'd like to take another look at the reserve officers. When we decided not to pay them, we had paid them for the 3 years previous. Prior to that, we hadn't paid them. I know they don't pay them in Charlotte. But we were told that they didn't think there would be any erosion of manpower at the time, and their hours for the first 5 months of the year is well below 50%. And the reserve officers, they're sworn officers, they drive police cars, they carry guns, and they do it for $20 an hour with no benefits. And so while we're looking to extend our resources, I would like us to revisit that situation. I understand that overtime for the rank and file officers is very important to them, especially since they haven't received a raise in the last 4 years, that it's a way of making ends meet. But when we're looking at extending our manpower, we've got 30 to 31 people who are ready to go, but they're not going to continue to work many hours for free. And I don't think it's right that we ask them to work for free when they're expected to carry a gun and do a dangerous task.
Thank you, Mayor. And I will include and take a look at all the items that have come up. By holding off at this point, it allows for us to take a look at the second quarter performance numbers, both from a capacity standpoint of what have our expenditures been over the first 5 months of this year, and where do we stand and where do we see our needs going forward, both from a public safety perspective, but the organization overall. So thank you for that.
Well, and I think it's clear from the council's comments that we have public safety as one of our top priorities, and that we would like to make sure that they're adequately funded and backed by this body. So we'll take that up in January. Any further questions? I think we have a motion by Mr. Matheny, a second by Mrs. Wade. Mr. Hartzman, we're going to postpone this item, so we're going to call you to come back when we hit it in January. But there's a motion and a second. Council will vote to postpone. Yeah. And that passes 9-0. Thank you. Item number 44 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Pillsbury, Winthrop, Shaw, and Pittman, LLP, to represent the city of Greensboro priorities to federal elected officials and agencies.
Move the resolution.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Council, we do have a speaker on this item, Mr. George Hartzman.
Nancy has her hand.
The proposed cost for service is $78,000. The Greensboro Partnership has agreed to pay 25%, or $19,500 of the cost. The Greensboro City Council funds the Greensboro Partnership, so if the Greensboro Partnership is paying 25% of the costs, how is that not a fungibility issue with the city actually paying the cost of the contract? It's just being funneled through the Greensboro Partnership. I hate to bust on the interim manager, but she was previously a lobbyist for the Greensboro Partnership. And other conflicts of interest that exists, the lobbyist, Craig J. Saperstein, represents clients in the energy, environmental, financial services, aviation, and healthcare sectors. He's from North Carolina and Greensboro. Mr. Saperstein drafts legislation, and it appears that he worked for Kay Hagan and Brad Miller. In the most recent campaign finance filings, it appears that Paul and Sarah Saperstein have given campaign contributions to Mayor Robbie Perkins. Is that correct? Is that direct connection there?
How are you getting all these contributions?
He's doing very well.
George, will you contribute to me so you can talk about it?
I wish I had more dirt.
Mr. Hartzman, if it's filed, then the contribution's correct.
So the parents of the proposed lobbyist gave to your campaign. The contributions, Mr. Saperstein worked for Kay Hagan, and Charles Hagan III also contributed to Mayor Perkins' campaign. And Mayor Perkins contributed to Jim Key's campaign. And David Hagan contributed to Mayor Perkins' campaign. And Chip Hagan contributed to Zach Matheny's campaign. And David Hagan contributed to Zach Matheny's campaign, who Zach Matheny's campaign contributed to Jim Key's campaign. Charles Hagan also contributed to Yvonne Johnson's campaign.
Thank God.
You deserve it. And Charles Hagan also contributed to Nancy Vaughn's campaign. That Nancy Vaughn, as I recall, voted against the lobbyist the last time it was proposed to City Council, as did Zach Matheny. So I guess it'll be interesting to see where you vote today.
George, I gave money to Jim, too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Did anyone else? The last filings have not been recorded yet, so there is, at this point, a lack of transparency as far as who gave what to whom
Mr. Hartzman, I don't
during
think
this
that you
meeting.
gave me any money.
The Honorable Gregory Laughlin, who is Mr. Saperstein's partner, I guess, specialized in whistleblower prevention. Is that someone that you want representing Greensboro? He also represented the Republic of Turkey. Is that someone you want to represent the Greensboro population? Mr. Saperstein represents clients in energy, environmental, financial services, aviation, and healthcare sectors and provides counsels to clients involved with congressional investigations. Their company also represents Chevron, ConocoPhillips, Duke Energy, Dinergy Energy, NextEra Energy, Progress Energy, Qatar Petroleum, Valero Energy, Allen & Company, Bank of America, multiples of property investment real estate trusts. I would counsel against having a lobbyist that represents interests that are contrary to the interests of the City of Greensboro residents.
Thank you, Mr. Hartzman.
If I could, if I would, please, I do want to just address a couple of things. First, with the Greensboro Partnership funding level, the funding that the city gives to the Greensboro Partnership goes for economic development activities, primarily in the area of marketing. And so these are not the I appreciate Mr. Hartzman's point, but I just wanted to say that. I also wanted to share, just for the council members that were not here previously, there was a competitive process in terms of having 14 bids and narrowing that process down to 6 entities that came and interviewed in person with the panel, which included the former city attorney, myself, Jason Cannon, who is with the Greensboro Partnership, the governmental affairs representative from UNCG, as well as one of our department heads, Sue Schwartz. So it was a very competitive process, and I wasn't looking for comment, but I just wanted to share that with all of you that were not here when this came forward in March.
Were any of the other candidates for lobbyists contributors to any other city council candidates' campaign?
I can't say for sure. They were all national firms that span the globe in terms of their activities.
Well, Mr. Mayor, since I'm the one that moved this and none of y'all gave me any money and I didn't get any money from the rest of them, then I'm clear and clean on this thing.
Me too.
Actually, I would disagree with that. Roy Carroll has given you money in the past. He is a board member of the Greensboro Partnership, which is publicly funded by the City of Greensboro taxpayer base.
Mr. Hartzman, we're moving on. We've got Mrs. Vaughn and then Mr. Matheny.
Okay.
You know, one of the concerns I have is that I think the bids and all are stale. I mean, they're a year old. You know, I think it's unusual for us to decide to go out for a lobbyist. It was voted down, and then for it to come back for a year later without a new bid process. I mean, to me, it seems like all of this is kind of stale. You know, I had a concern last time, and I continue to have a concern. The stimulus money that was out there a year or two ago isn't there right now. You know, if this was a process that we were going to consider, I think it should be a clean process, and that we should start from the beginning and get some new bids and proposals. The other thing, which was just a little confusing to me when you handed out this list, under it, it says Pillsbury, Winthrop, Shaw, and Pittman, and I just want to clarify for the rest of council that these are not projects that they were able to fund. It is just a list of projects throughout the state that other people had gotten. One thing I do like about this company is that they don't represent anybody else in the state of North Carolina, but I want to make it clear that these were not jobs that they were able to procure on a municipality's behalf.
All right. Mr. Matheny.
This was a unique process a few months ago. In reference to any alleged improprieties about campaign contributions, I can tell you that nobody has ever given to my campaign and said, I need to hire a lobbyist or I need to hire a specific lobbyist. Matter of fact, I can pretty much tell you that nobody even calls me about anything relative to city government. They just are supportive of the fact that they probably don't want to do this job and they want me to be up here. And so, you know, to a certain degree.
Have you ever solicited a campaign
Mr. Harshman,
contribution
Mr.
from
Harshman.
someone who has business before?
Nobody's talking to the speaker. If you can have him sit down, that'd be great. Because it's,
Mr. Hartzman, can you please sit down? Thank you.
you know, it's important to note, because people come up here sometimes and stand behind the podium and they can say whatever they want to say. And that attacks the very thing that I said that I run this seat on last week, which is my integrity. And I can tell you that Mr. Hagan or Mr. Hagan have never offered any suggestions on how I should run this seat, much less who I should hire. Now, what I did do today, and I did it earlier this morning before lunch, was I called one of our federal delegates. I called Howard Coble's office prior to his unfortunate admittance into the hospital. And I talked to Ed McDonald, who has been Howard's chief of staff for 27 years. He's been with Howard since '85 when he got elected. And I asked Ed what his thoughts and what Howard's thoughts were on having a lobbyist in representing the city of Greensboro in Washington, D.C. And he made some very good points. And some of his points, and you can tell that I'm taking this verbatim from what he said, was while we do not need a lobbyist in order to work with our federally elected officials like Howard Coble's office, because he is accessible, they do see a benefit in hiring somebody at an appropriate cost due to the dissolution of the earmarks that we've seen. And the fact of our government officials, in particular those that serve us in D.C., don't have time to figure out where the pots of money are located that do exist. And just because the stimulus, if we call it that, might not be as rampant as it was when it was first voted on, and earmarks have gone away, doesn't mean that money doesn't exist in Washington, D.C., and that we can't, that it's just dried up. Because obviously, there's some checkbooks up there that our agencies are writing. And so Ed McDonald, again, who is a veteran of the Washington, D.C. Industry and the political Congress, recommended this. And I said, he said, well, who are you looking at hiring? And I said, well, we're looking at hiring a guy from Pillsbury called Craig Saperstein. And he's, oh, Craig, I know Craig. Craig's a very good guy, and he'll represent the city of Greensboro well. We work well with Craig. And again, you know, Mr. Harshman made a point to talk about some of the folks that he's worked with, such as Kay Hagan and the Democrat side, but you're talking about Howard Coble, who's been one of the more conservative with the sharp pencil from the Republican side up there. And so what I gathered from that conversation with Mac is that you've got a bipartisan potential lobbyist for the city of Greensboro. And it's with the advice of what I consider somebody I look up to, and Howard and Coble and Ed McDonald, that I'll support this, because it's not, to me, I think if we were to rebid it, which I agree with you, Nancy, but I think if we were to rebid it, I don't think we could get it cheaper than what we've got it right now in front of us. And the last thing that he said was, there's still money in Washington that is being allocated, and it could be very important to have somebody finding it within all the agencies. And so, if I didn't have Howard's support or Ed McDonald's support, I don't know how I would do, but I think that's important to me, and I'll support it.
Dr. Wade?
I have some real concerns on hiring a lobbyist. That's why I didn't vote for it before. Sometimes on the information we've been given, if you have a lobbyist, you are able to get a lot of money, like Charlotte with $15 million, and then you look at Raleigh and they don't have a lobbyist and they had $13 million. I think our staff does a terrific job at finding grants and monies that are available, and you've done a terrific job. I also think that every member of this board can pick up a phone and call any of our representatives and lobby for any money. And we're pretty good at that too, I have to admit, because we can lobby for a lot of things. The other thing is, Howard Coble would have to walk in this room and tell me we need to hire a lobbyist before I'm going to take, Howard's going to have to tell me that. I would be shocked and surprised, but I haven't talked to Howard, so I can't say one way or the other if he would say, yes, we need one, but he doesn't, he's not on the city council. And so without hearing it from Howard's mouth, I would be hesitant to say that Howard's telling you to spend money for a lobbyist. But I would say that we've been doing pretty good without a lobbyist, and I will commend the staff on that, Denise. And I know you've been part of that, on how we've gotten stimulus money here. And I know you've been telling us the stimulus money is dwindling. So I think we've been doing a pretty good job. I think in these economic times, to ask the citizens to pay $78 million for a lobbyist, 78,000. I mean, it's million. Thank you. It's hard for them to swallow. The people that still have a job are working very hard just to keep that job and make ends meet. And I'm not asking them on something that all of us are capable of calling one of our representatives and asking for monies, and I'm sure that our representatives at the federal level are keeping in touch also.
Thank you. Any further comments from council? Mr. Key?
I think it's important to note that this lobbyist that we're anticipating hiring is not just paid for by the city of Greensboro. We have partners that are interested in helping foot the bill, and certainly there are always monies available at the federal level. And having spoken with Congressman Watt's office, I too have been asked the question why Greensboro does not have a representative in Washington, D.C. lobbying for money. And I believe that's a very important thing that we do. So I'll be supporting it as well.
Thank you. Any further comments from council? I will have to any further comments? I will have to say that 3 days after we turned down this proposal the last time, the city of High Point issued a press release, and it was a small article in the High Point Enterprise, that they hired their lobbyist for an 8th straight year, and that their return on their investment exceeded 50 to 1. And I thought that was rather unusual that our group turned it down and High Point passed it for the 8th straight year. The indications that the research that Mr. Saperstein has done indicate that most, if not all, of the major cities in North Carolina do carry on this type of federal lobbying activity. And I think it's most important to note that certainly I am willing and able to call elected officials and lobby on the city's behalf, but I need to know what to call and ask them for, and I think that's the role of the lobbyist, more to ferret out where those pots of money are in Washington, D.C., and tell us how to lobby our elected officials. So I intend to support this as well. With no more comments, council, we have do we have a motion? By who? Motion by Diane Bellamy Small, a second by Mrs. Abuza-Wader. Council will vote.
I hit the wrong button.
Oops.
I can change it.
All right. And that item passes 7-2. All right, the next item. Mr. Saperstein's here tonight. He came down from Washington, D.C. I think we're going to be expecting a tally on your results on this particular item, and we'll be definitely interested to see what you can bring home to the citizens of Greensboro. We know that you have an interest here in this community because you grew up here and your parents did contribute to my campaign. I have known your parents since you were about 6 years old, and consider them very good friends. So thank you for coming down and doing this work. Item number 45 is an item, a motion to select a consulting firm for the city manager search. Madam Manager.
I will turn this over to Mrs. Connie Hammond and council.
All right, and we do have one speaker on this item, but we're going to go with the presentation before we go with the speaker, and maybe that'll answer some of your questions, Mr. Nutes. Evening. Got it.
Okay.
Are we good now? Yeah,
We're
that's
good.
better. As council, or some members of council may recall, staff was charged back in October at an October 25th briefing to prepare and issue a request for proposal that would assist council in its search for a new city manager. That request for proposal was developed and issued with some input from the then council members. It was issued and actually sent to 37 firms. We actually had a response, an affirmative response of interest from 8 of those firms, and for 25 of those firms, there was either a declination or there was no interest indicated. We sent to council a summary of the responses that did come back in the affirmative, and we basically summarized the 8 firms' responses and their alignment with the criteria that we included in the request for proposal in a package that we hope you all got and had a chance to look at. What I'd like to do is to basically focus on the 4 firms that surfaced as having the strongest alignment with the criteria that we set out in your RFP. And those firms are Charles Anderson Consulting out of California, the HR Group out of Greensboro, Mercer Group out of Georgia, and the Waters Consulting Group out of Texas. If you've had an opportunity to look at the summary of the performance along the criteria that we sent, you'll see what some of the criteria were that we used. There is a summary on starting on page 6 of this document, and I hope you all have it. It's the long legal document.
We don't have it.
That was in the...
Right. Yes,
It was in the package. Should we get copies?
Yes, we can get copies made, but I think we are at a place for you to continue forward, and we'll see what we can get.
Okay. Let me just share with you the primary criteria that led us to recommend the 4 firms that I did just mention, and it was the consultants' breadth and depth of the consultants' experience in managing executive recruitments in general, and specifically in managing executive recruitments for city managers and other executives for municipalities. We also wanted to look at someone who had at least a fairly strong familiarity with North Carolina and or the Southeast, and particularly with the council manager form of government. All of the firms did provide comprehensive written and personal reports periodically through the process, or agreed to do that through the process. Basically, we asked the firms to generally respond to how they would follow the following process in doing their search. They're required to describe how they would use additional input from council to develop a specific profile for the characteristics and qualities that you're looking for in a new city manager. They are required to align with our recommendations and council's recommendations for advertising and recruiting, particularly via some of the public sector executive networking periodicals and other media. The firms that were successful outlined a fairly rigorous process of how they would screen, recruit, and conduct assessments, do interviewing and background reviews, and to do that in a way that would allow the council to, at some point a month or 2 out, narrow its field of candidates to 8 or 10 strong candidates, and to basically debrief with the mayor and the council members when you narrow that field further to facilitate your hiring decision and to act as a facilitator for any negotiations that were needed when you made your selection for the council person, for the new city manager. Again, I won't go into all of the details, but we did provide you with a significantly detailed overview of how each of the four top respondents aligned with the criteria of experience in city manager searches, experience with other public sector executive searches, i.e. county managers, state or federal governments, how they aligned with managing searches for cities with populations in excess of 100,000 and at least 2,000 employees. And we also looked at their experience, as I said earlier, in placements in North Carolina specifically, but certainly in the Southeast. We asked them to project the amount of time that they would likely be engaged in that recruitment and search process prior to bringing candidates to council. Generally, that time frame was about 90 days for each of the four top performers. And we also obviously looked at fees. The lowest costs, and the costs range from about $22,000 to $30,000 for the entire process. We did ask if they were either utilizing or had a minority and women business enterprise registration. However, that was not a requirement, given that that was not one of the requirements that council charged us with when we provided the RFP. So again, the top four, and we believe that these four could certainly do the job as we've outlined the requirements in the RFP. Again, they are Anderson. Anderson is a firm out of California, but some of you may recall that Anderson is the firm that recruited our city manager to Alexandria. The HR group is a local group. The Mercer group we're currently working with in the city attorney search, and we have worked with Mercer in previous searches, and the Waters Consulting Group.
Ms. Bellamy Small, you have a question?
No.
Or comment?
When it's appropriate, I'd like to make a motion, please.
All right. Any
questions for me?
Any questions from Ms. Hammonds? Any council comments prior to a motion? Well, do you have a recommendation of the four?
My personal and professional recommendation is any of the four. If you asked what the rank order would be, there probably are some slight differences, and those differences would, from my staff's perspective, would tie Waters and Anderson, followed by Mercer and HR Group.
Okay. All right.
And they're very subtle differences if I were forced to do that rank ordering. But any of the four is our recommendation.
Okay. Ms. Bellamy Small?
I'd like to make a motion that we give the consider the contract for Ralph Anderson and Associates.
There's a motion and a second. Council, can you have comments, Mrs. Hoffner?
Only that I reviewed this pretty carefully over the weekend, and I talked to Ms. Hammond yesterday. And, I think the criteria that was laid out was clear and comprehensive. And I think you got proposals back, certainly in several instances, that were, again, very professional and comprehensive. So she and I talked about, I asked her for her ranking yesterday because I just kind of wanted to see how it compared with mine.
Okay. Mr. Matheny.
Thank you. As always, Connie, you do a great job. I support Diane and Ralph Anderson. I spoke to them shortly after that I found out that they hired Rashad away. For all the weaknesses that they know about us, which is how they were able to lure away, and their aggressive nature, and how they contacted Rashad in the first place by being proactive They know our strengths as well, and I was extremely impressed with the fact that they know us well. He was telling, I spoke with Mr. Berg, he was discussing with us what we should be proud of, and I think that they'll do a great job representing us, and they are on the scale slightly higher on what their potential fee would be. In my opinion, when you're hiring somebody that ultimately is going to have a compensation structure of approximately total comp of around $200,000, typically, and Nancy Hoffman, you can back me up on this, typically that fee for hiring somebody at that magnitude is a heck of a lot greater than a maximum of $30,000. And
the fee for my firm, if we did that search, would be $60,000 plus expenses.
Plus expenses. So you can be 60 to...
Unless we negotiated something.
I got in the wrong profession. But I do think that this is a great organization, and I think we'll be proud, and we can't spare an expense on anything when you're dealing with a very important job for our city of Greensboro.
All right. Okay. Mr. Key?
Maybe we can get this firm to contact Rashad again.
All right, so maybe we can, and also there will be additional expenses with regard to this search. So it's not only the consultant's expense, but it will be expenses for bringing in the various candidates and housing them, and
Yes.
and so there will be other expenses the council needs to recognize. Any further questions? Then if not, there's a motion on the floor and a second. Council will vote on the preferred vendor. Oh, we do have a speaker from the floor. I'm sorry. Mr. Nutez, did she answer all your questions? Well, tell us what you're thinking.
I gotta tell you my name. Leon Nutez, 214 Peach Orchard Drive. Motion to select a counseling firm for city manager search. I'm a lobbyist. I am. I'm making a plug. At the beginning, when this meeting started, you went ahead and pushed over $1 million. Then the numbers went up and up and up. It hasn't stopped. But the fact is, I shook hands with each one of you, except these three here. Can I go over and shake hands with them and congratulate them? Okay, you got it. The fact is this here. To have a consulting firm will cost us anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000, in my mind. Am I right or wrong? You can tell me that. Then once you have the consulting firm costing them, then they got to go out and advertise, so forth, and bring people on in. Before you had a group up here, buy local. I like to buy local. I like to buy made in the USA. But we do have somebody here that is born here in the USA, I believe. And also the fact is that it's local. You took her from that table there and moved her over to here. Now, this here person is a very intelligent person. I look upon her with respect. Anytime you asked a question of her, she gave you the answer. Some of you may not have agreed with her, but the fact is, she gave you an answer. Why are we going out of our own territory when we went from there to here? You also gave her an increase, I understand, in salary. Why knock her down? I need her here. She, in my mind, she's a Mr. Rashad Young. Now we lost a great man there. He went to Washington to shake hands with 14 other people. But I shook hands with all of you. I would like you to consider the fact. Forget about a consulting firm. Give our people, our local, a chance. I like her. I'm sure most of you do like her. Don't go outside. What we have here, let's keep. I guess I said enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nutez. All right, we do have a motion on the floor and a second. Council will vote.
I'd just like to say to Mr. Nunez, whether we get a national firm or not, your point is well taken, and I think if Ms. Turner is interested and wants to be considered, I would certainly like for her to be.
Very good. Mrs. Bellamy Small.
Mr. Nunez, you know, in the time that you've been coming up here, you've made a lot of good sense. We haven't always been able to respond the way you would have wanted us to. I mean, if I had had my way, Mr. Young would still be here. Not that there's anything against Ms. Turner. But at the same time, we have a process, and so we sometimes have to go through these processes, even if it costs us money that we might not want to spend. I do hope that if Ms. Turner Roth is interested, that she will apply, for it, because my feeling is that if we grow our talent in-house or in Greensboro, then we should try our best to encourage folks to work for the city of Greensboro and feel proud about that. So I know sometimes you feel like we don't hear you. We hear you, but sometimes we just can't, respond the way you would like for us to do. But we do appreciate you, and if you were sitting up here, I know you would make things happen the way you believe they should happen. Thank you.
Thank you. That vote passes 9-0, so we will move forward to engage Ralph Anderson and Associates, and Mrs. Hammond will keep us advised as to the schedule that we're going to be operating on. Jim, Mr. Key?
Yes, I just want to reiterate my support also for Ms. Turner. I agree with what you said, Mr. Nunez. Ms. Turner has all the qualities that Rashad Young has, and in addition, she has one quality: she's easier to look at. So, nothing against you, Rashad.
Thank you, Mr. Key. Okay. I'm going to give a quick update on the city attorney search. I met with the consultant, Philip Robertson, from the Mercer Group last week. He indicated that we did not have a deep applicant pool at this time, so we will continue searching for further applicants, and I think the council will be involved in assisting with that search. So we will keep you up to speed as to what we need to do from here. Ms. Manager, are there any addendum items?
No addendum, sir.
No addendum. Well, we do have, and we don't have anyone signed up from speakers to the floor, but we missed some folks on item number 16 and asked that if they wanted to speak, they could speak at the end of the council meeting. And if any of them would like to speak from the floor on an item or just have thoughts, then please come up and give us your name and address and tell us what your issue is.
And had they signed up on before, you could have let them speak at the time.
Yeah, the mic's on. Yeah.
Hey. I'm sorry if I look and sound a mess. We've been up since 8 a.m. in court all day with our brothers and sisters and the Almighty Latin King Queen Nation at the federal courthouse.
Name and address.
Sarah Lee Gallion, 1101 West Florida Street. I came to speak on not in any kind of political way, as I normally would be here, but just as a witness to the work that I've seen the Safe Streets Task Force do in my neighborhood. Specifically, I don't know if you all know, this is 1 week since the raid on Lexington Avenue that I witnessed that Safe Streets Task Force coordinated. I woke up to a raid of about 35 officers with assault rifles, operating a flash grenade at my neighbors and friends and extended family's house across the street from us. We ran out to see my friend Renee, who I babysit for, being drug out of the house in only a towel. We watched 2-year-old twin babies be put on like ground on the dirt by these FBI members with assault rifles in just a diaper to just run around on the ground. We witnessed the entire breakup and dissolution of this family in 1 week. And for y'all to approve this $50,000, I don't know if it's like a holiday bonus or if it's to cover the operations of what the task force hadn't already budgeted for, just feels like a real slap in the face to a lot of the values that I know that those of you whose campaigns I supported, speak to. And I know that it might be an abstract concept to apply budgeting to this kind of behavior, but I witnessed it. I was there across the street. I had to witness the entire wait. We've been taking care of the family and children since then, and all I've seen that task force do is break up and destroy families. I haven't seen any of the good work that they've done. I've seen them create a false illusion that we have a violent gang problem in Greensboro that doesn't exist, in my neighborhood that doesn't exist. And I wish that I could have spoken before the approval was made, but I don't support giving any more money to the task force. And I've just witnessed the children being traumatized from this. Like, we can't sleep at night. Both of our houses are being surveyed constantly. And I know you all know about the case going on, and everyone has their different opinions on it and the work of Jorge, but I just wanted to express what I actually experienced. So.
I wasn't even paying attention. All right, my name is Rondell Walker. I also go by King Chaos. I'm part of the Almighty Latin King Queen Nation. I feel that
and we need your address for the record.
Okay. 2804 Bees Creek Road.
Thank you.
My opinion on this gang task force is just like, I don't see no sense of you supporting them. And I mean, you go to Smith Homes, Hampton Homes, Claremont Homes, and Railroad Homes, you see a bigger threat than there's a bigger gang threat. And that's out there. And then besides of the Latin Kings, we are hardworking people in that support in our family. And you don't see us out there selling drugs, murdering people, robbing people, and all. And I mean, since I've been in there, Jorge taught us a lot. And I mean, what they did, on that in Tuesday? And the last weekend, it was wrong. The false charges that they brought up against his brother is wrong. And I mean, the police department is really messed up about this one, yo. And you could go to Smith Homes, you see shooting every day. Kids out there, selling drugs. You don't see, and then you go to Smith Homes or any else in any hood, you see taggings on the walls. You don't see none of that says, Latin Kings, that's on those walls. Because of the simple fact, he told us not to tag or anything else. He told us to either go to get work or to go back to school. I myself, I'm working, and I'm proud to say some brothers they working, and then you got some brothers that can go back to school. And I mean, we are not a threat to this community. We are not criminals. We are not thugs. We are human beings. Yes, we will defend ourselves, but that's in human nature. True or not?
Thank you.
And I mean, and that's it.
Thank you. The next speaker.
Daniel Carlson, 400 Spring Street. I was going to speak earlier thinking naively about the illusion that we would be able to speak at this forum about something that you were to vote on before you actually just voted on it. So that's fine. I don't have a lot of energy, and these two fine people have already said pretty much what I wanted to. The only thing that I could add to it is that this city has an incredible history of getting things wrong over and over again. In times like this, when people need support and the truth, whatever that may be, needs to come out, people tend to hide and deny it until it becomes safe again to come out and say something. And I think that's also part of the history of this town. But all I can say right now is that if someone who is not part of the city structure can have enough energy to read and study and get to know the city that they live in, to come to the conclusion that I'm not unsafe at night walking down the street, the friends that I have and the people that live in and around me are not dangerous people because I live there. I think that if I can come to that conclusion, you and all your employees or whoever your people that tell you how to vote on things could also do fair and balanced research to come to the conclusions that there isn't this tremendous gang problem. And yeah, that's pretty much the only new thing I could say, is that before you just blindly vote on something, think about how it actually affects and impacts individuals' lives, not because of something that you see on the History Channel, not because of something that's reported in the media, which is allegations. And that's about all I can say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I would like to say that we received your applications to speak after we had already voted on the item, and we did want to respect your right to speak, and that's why we asked you to come at this time. So, Ms. Bellamy-Small?
I would suggest that if you, particularly if you have a complaint that, as far as what happened, that our chief is sitting there. We do have a process through the Human Relations Commission where you can make a complaint. I don't know, what the process is, but Chief, I know that we try very hard. You said that we don't have a gang problem in Greensboro, but there's a reason for that. And I think Mr. Perkins was on the council at that time when we did authorize funding for a gang unit, because at that time it was felt that there was a need to have that kind of instrument in our police department. Obviously, it was effective. People being involved with gangs or other criminal activity, we try our best to keep it under control so that folks don't feel like that they are living in an unsafe environment. Gangs are a reality in our society, and you know that. Well, I'm not talking about what is happening with Mr. Cornell, but gangs are a reality in our society. And it's up to us to either be proactive and try to have as many programs like the HOPE Project to encourage our young people to find alternatives, or like the gentleman and the lady that stood up here today talking about the basketball program. Okay, that's what we're trying to invest in. We're trying to give our citizens alternatives for their children and for them, as far as how we, constructively do things in our community as opposed to doing things that harm people. So, we don't have a police state here. I don't want us to ever have a police state here. But at the same time, we do have to look at the concerns and safety of all of our citizens. And sometimes we have to put people in jail in order to get their attention that we don't want that. Another program is the Violent Task Force, where we actually take people who continue to offend and give them opportunities so that they won't offend, including housing, education, what else, Chief? All I'm saying is that we're trying very hard not to have folks in our community doing things that hurt other people.
I'd like to make a quick note that the recent activities of last week that were mentioned were federal, FBI, not linked necessarily to our Greensboro Police Department. And so I just want to make that clarification that this was FBI as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now is the time for council comments, I'd like to separate appointments from comments at this time, because there has been a lengthy time that we have not made any appointments, and I remember Mr. Young, before he left, said that we needed to have some appointments made on certain boards, and I know that all of us need to have input on that, but I think there are several council members that want to make some appointments tonight, so I'd like to start with the appointments. No, there's some, we're going to make appointments. There's some boards that are awfully thin in terms of their attendance, and in fact, I've gotten calls from the Board of Adjustment on one, and the Human Relations Commission two, that don't have enough members to function right now.
The clerk just said she hasn't given us an updated list, Mr. Mayor. If you really, you might want to.
You didn't put it in the package? All right. All right. Then if we don't have an updated list, let's just wait till the 17th. I know Ms. Bellamy Small, you've got several that have been waiting for a long, long time.
Okay, but Mr. Mayor, if I know who I need to appoint, is that a problem at this time?
Well, I don't think it's a problem. If the rest of the council will approve it, it's certainly a voice vote of council, and if you want to make those nominations and get a second, you can go ahead and do that.
So do I go ahead?
It'll get them started working.
All
You're
right,
going to make
thank you.
appointments anyway.
Okay, all right. Do you want me to do them all at one time?
And
or
these
do you
are
want
all
me to do
district.
individual?
These are all district appointments.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if you've done your homework, I'm not going to stop you from.
I've done my homework, sir.
Okay.
All right, for the Community Resources Board, Sarah Glover is to replace Tawana Hayes.
Second.
Okay, for the Human Relations Commission, Chantel Wesley Lemon will replace Adele Noureddin. For the Commission on the Status of Women, Anita Dawkins will replace Shirley Douglas. And for the Zoning Commission, James Griffin will replace Ralph Johnson.
Yes, Dr. Wade. What we did, but I don't think any of those that she's mentioned are on that list.
Well, Community Resources, but, I mean, you said that it would be an advisory to them, so, I mean, that's still who I would recommend, whether they are an advisory to or if they are still a board.
I second your.
And I don't think, at this point, I'm not sure that it matters at this point. And if Ms. Bellamy Small has done her homework and has these people lined up and the other people want to step down, then these boards are still operational without members from her district. I don't have an objection to her moving forward at this time. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Council vote all at once to approve those recommendations. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, now we'd move forward with council comments, and I think we need to limit those comments to 3 minutes per person, and I'd like to start with Mrs. Hoffman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd just really like to say this has been a great initiation into a first council meeting. You are all terrific associates and fellow council members, and I have a lot to learn from each of you, and I'm looking forward to that continuing. I think just the process that we've been able to follow this evening in terms of getting through the number of items that we've been able to do so this evening is an indication of the ability of this council to work and do the people's business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Key?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to wish the citizens of Greensboro a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Mrs. Vaughn?
thank you. A few months ago, we all heard that Simple Needs had gone out of business, and that was very disappointing. Well, there is actually a new bakery that is opening up in its place on Thursday. It'll be a soft opening. I believe it's called Great Loaves, but I'm not positive that's the name. And in the spirit of buy local, I think everybody really needs to try it. They are going to be using some bakers who have been put out of work since the closing of a few of the bakeries, and it was actually started by one of the farmers at the farmers market. And the reason why they got this new business together is because they really noticed a decline in people coming to the market because Simple Needs wasn't there anymore. So they're going to be giving people another reason to come back down to the farmers market. So the grand opening, I believe, is Thursday in the old Simple Needs, and I hope everybody will have a chance to stop by over the next few months and show our support. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson?
I too want to wish the citizens of Greensboro a very safe and happy holiday season. And if you haven't already, if you're in a position and you haven't already reached out to lift someone, please do that, because that makes a difference. The only thing I have is I would like, well, I don't know whether to make a motion or just, let me just say what I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see the staff review the proposal by the Sustainability Committee and to come back with us by the end of February with recommendations. I know we accepted the report, and I know it's an economic, I believe it's an economic engine for this community. So I would like to see that happen. If I need to make a motion, let me go on and make the motion. I'm so moved.
I would second that.
There's a motion that we direct staff to come back with a recommendation on the Sustainability Council by the end of February. On how to handle
With
this,
some recommendations for us.
as to how to handle it.
That's what I'm saying. This is a big, thick document. But you got it.
So different phases.
Yeah.
Something that we can do.
I have enough direction. We'll be able to take a look at the product itself and see what are the short and long-term goals and,
That's what I
how we
want.
could actually achieve
That's
it.
exactly what I'd like.
Sure.
Okay. Council will vote. Well, just push a button. Yeah, I think that works. And that passes 9-0.
That's all I have.
That's all?
To all the kids in Greensboro, be safe and do some good stuff and enjoy your vacation.
Mrs. Bellamy Small?
Okay. First, I'd like for staff to give an update on Bingham Park. The folks in that area have been waiting. When Mr. Morgan was here, he was kind of our lead person on environmental issues, and sometimes it appears that EPA, our importance is not their importance. So we need to move ahead with that, or see if staff can do some things now that perhaps while they're waiting, if they're still waiting on the EPA, to tell them what their findings are for that area. Remember, there was an incinerator there. Second, I'd like to get the names of the recent Citizens Academy graduates added to our commission and boards, because I think all of them did fill out the request to be considered for boards and commissions. So we have a new pool of people to look at. I want to congratulate Bennett College Choir on their concert last week, their Christmas concert, which is an awesome. If you have not heard the choir before, they do a tremendous job. Then secondly, I want to congratulate the Joint School of Nanoscience and Nanoengineering, affectionately known now as JSNN, for their grand opening this past week. And Council, if you were not there, they announced that they already, before opening their doors, had $4 million in research grants, and also had letters of intents for some major players, including a company out of France, to deal with diagnostic equipment that will pinpoint exactly, more accurately, the various diseases you might have in your body. Instead of having somebody always saying, open up or whatever, they'll find it a lot quicker. I think that is a credit to us. and I'm really proud to see that happen. Next, I want to congratulate the concerned citizens on their Christmas dinner, and they also recognized their founding members, as well as a farewell to Mr. Young. And I did get a text from him, and he's in his own council meeting up in Alexandria, Virginia, but I think there's a shorter than hour still, Mr. Perkins. Next, I want to congratulate Providence Baptist Church for their Christmas play, and the fact that this is a fundraiser that Dr. Reverend and Mrs. Chubbs put on to raise funds for the Children's Home Society, and I think it's very impressive that every year their play gets better and better, their performances, and at the same time it's for a worthy cause. And so I just wanted to commend Providence Baptist Church and the Chubbses for the benefit that they do for the Children's Home Society. And then today I'm wearing my, I don't know if you see it, well, there it is, my sticker for giving blood. So, you know, they do take it out of you. But the Red Cross asked me to tell everyone about the fact that they train volunteers twice a month, and that they're really looking for new volunteers to help with the Red Cross. And then finally, I just want to wish, we've already said Merry Christmas, but Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah begins on December the 20th, and Happy Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa begins on December the 26th. So I hope that folks will find some way to celebrate this holiday season, and children will be safe, and they'll do something productive during their time out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abizarwriter.
Yes, I just want to thank not only certain council members who have taken us newbies under their wing, but also the wonderful staff that has helped guide us through the processes and all of the forms we need to fill out and where to go and where to be and all of those good things. So I do want to send out a special thank you for that. I was very honored to be at the opening of the YWCA Homeless Shelter for Women. It's a 25-bed shelter at the Y building right there behind the library downtown, and it is where faith communities came together and provided spaces for the homeless women in our community. There are many, many beds for men who are homeless, but not many for women. So it's a great endeavor and initiative by the Y, and you might want to see if there's anything you might be able to do to help. Also, I believe the mayor may talk about the Action Greensboro and the Greenway announcement that was done this week, possibly, so I'll leave that for him. I do want to say that I was honored to run the 5K, the Will Cavanis 5K, the firefighter who unfortunately passed away when he was running a marathon in the north, I can't remember where it was, but Chicago. And I ran in that race, and our own mayor, Robbie Perkins, ran in the race, and he came in third overall. So first place was a young gentleman, 23, and second place was a young gentleman, 28, and then Mayor Perkins was third. And do not ask where I came in, but I did finish. And also, the Joint School of Nanotechnology was a wonderful experience to see that open and everything that it is going to bring. And also, I don't want to forget that on December 1st, there was a youth summit here in these chambers that the interns, I believe Mr. Key and Mr. Perkins had brought those interns from the colleges and universities, and those students that came to that summit were phenomenal, gave a lot of good ideas. Several of them have contacted us, and I want to thank Denise Turner for bringing them, for coordinating that for us. So that's basically all I have to say, and happy holidays to everyone, and please be safe.
Thank you very much. Dr. Wade?
Madam Manager, do you have an update for me on Hilltop Park, where we are with that? And
I don't have an update on Hilltop. One of the activities that we will take up in January will allow for us to move forward in purchasing some of the property that's close to the park itself.
I've had a lot of residents call, want to know when you're going to begin doing something out there. They were promised last year, and that it would start in December.
The plans are definitely to start next year. I'll have to get back to you in terms of the timing.
Okay. And I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And I want to thank the staff for working with all of us over the last year and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year because we're back. And I just want to prepare you.
Mr. Matheny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple of things, and much like Mary Kay said, and I know Robbie will speak to it, but I just want to thank Lincoln for their $500,000 contribution, Lorillard, their $250,000 contribution, and VF Corporation for their $250,000 contribution, which means $1 million for the downtown Greenway. And that's amazing. And we've been talking about where are our corporate citizens. That's there. And that's big time. And it's already, you're seeing the works of it. There's going to be a groundbreaking tomorrow, although they've gone ahead and broken the ground, on the North State property where we're going to have economic development adding to our tax base and folks moving to downtown, which will help those small businesses because you'll have folks walking around the street. And so we're seeing the fruits of that labor for the downtown, but our corporations to step up like that is simply tremendous, especially during these tough times. And you got 3 public companies doing that. And I think public companies are certainly scrutinized. And so I think that's tremendous. I'm excited about the property, the North State property, and hopefully we'll have an anchor down here on Elm Street and Lee Street before too long. The Joint School of Nanoscience, the JSNN, I agree. That's a tremendous feat over in East Greensboro that is growing and will continue to grow, and I think we're going to have major partnerships in that going forward. And I think we're going to see some businesses that are created out of that campus that will be tremendous for our region as well. The Coliseum has obviously has been on a roll the last couple of years in particular, and they had an event last Friday evening where 10,000 folks attended the Sealy Fox 8 holiday concert by the Symphony Orchestra, and 700,000 cans of foods were collected by the Salvation Army over the weekend. 700,000. That's huge, and that's terrific, and it says so much about our giving community here in Greensboro. The Aquatic Center, you know, is supposedly known for being a fast pool, and although I know Diane's working on a couple of records because she's over there a lot, Daniel Lee actually set an unofficial North Carolina state record for the 15 and 16 boys 100 breaststroke at the John Dewey Invitational. And I gave a little plaque in honor of John Dewey, who was a tremendous person in and out of the swimming pool, which that tournament is actually named for, who passed away at the age of 18 due to melanoma. And folks came up to me afterwards and thanked me for telling them who John Dewey was and what he stood for and that he was a good person. There's a change at UNCG men's basketball. Wes Miller is now the interim head coach, and I wish Wes a tremendous amount of luck, except for when he plays Elon. And my time is out, and I do wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and get some rest because we got a lot of work to do next year.
Thank you, Mr. Matheny. You know, I'd just like to thank this council for a great last meeting of 2011. To our citizens, we won't stop working. There are various sundry meetings that will carry us through the rest of the year, and we will be working diligently on hiring a new city attorney and a city manager. So that process doesn't stop just because we won't meet formally until the 17th of January. Would like to wish everyone a happy holiday and tell the staff that we greatly appreciate the yeoman's work that you have done over a period of the last year, and we look forward to starting fresh in 2012 and making some great things happen. I am very excited about the public-private partnership that we have embarked on with the Greenway, and that groundbreaking on the North State property is at 11:30 tomorrow morning, and that's approximately a $20 million project that will come out of the ground. And hopefully this council and the folks that are developing deep roots can work together to make sure that that grocery store comes out of the ground in 2012 as well. We do have a lot of exciting things that are happening in Greensboro, and I would say that the Nanotechnology Center that we visited is incredible. I don't know enough to explain what's in that building, but I think the effects of that facility will reach far beyond East Greensboro and Greensboro. I think this is going to make a huge difference in the employment of our region over time. And but I am very proud of this council and the way that we conducted ourselves tonight. I will apologize for dropping the ball on the speaker's portion of, or on the commission's portion of this discussion, and would ask that we put that on our agenda on our retreat as well, because I think there was some confusion over what we're going to be doing and the recommendations that were made by Mr. Young on these commissions, and I'd really like us to clarify exactly what we intend to do and then move forward with appointments when necessary. So thank you. Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything for us tonight? Ms. Manager, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just very quickly, I wanted to take the opportunity during the manager's time to take a moment to recognize activities that have happened either at city departments or with city employees. And I'd like to start tonight with recognizing Libby James, who was recognized as Public Official of the Year by the North Carolina Triangle chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council, and this was primarily because of her work on the GTA facility, which will be the City of Greensboro's first LEED facility. So we are very excited about that, and it will have a gold standard. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Thank you very much.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.